Welcome
That
to the
intro was
channel.
killer. I was rocking out to that.
You were dancing. One of these days, I got to start recording people dancing to it. What's going on? We got Gory B Movie here on the Night Watch Zone. All right. I'm ready to rock with this. How you doing?
Good. Do you want me to have a headset on or echo or anything?
I don't hear any echo yet. You let me know if you hear an echo.
I don't think so. If you got a headset, so it'd probably be my fault.
We're going to blame it all on you.
Oh, I get blamed for everything. If you watch Freaky Girls Live, they blame me for everything. Muting people, I'm the mad muter.
Nice. So tonight, we got Gory B Movie here. We're going to talk about what she's been up to on her channel. We got some questions, and of course, we're going to be talking about our horror hot takes, the movies that you love that people necessarily do not love, and vice versa too. Because there might be some movies that you hate that people think are really, really cool. So we're going to go through a couple of those. We got a bunch of people in the chat. So I just want to say hello to everybody. We got Robin saying hello at Gory B Movie. All right. We got Wayne, Patrick, Jen, and we got Monty G. Monty G is in the house. What's up?
Monty G. I love him.
All right. Nice. Let's see who else we got.
Danny Nightmare from Horror Addicts. What?
We do. Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right. What's up? Here we go. I love it. What's up? And also to let you guys know in the live chat, if you guys do have questions for Gory, just put it in the live chat, put a Q in front of it so that way I can find it easier. And especially if she's talking about a movie that she loves that you don't, let us know, and vice versa as well. Because I'm sure we're gonna have some interesting
We can still be
picks.
friends. It's cool.
That's right.
We're not gonna hate. Different opinions.
That's right. Give us all the gory details. Nice.
That's my show. What's going on with my camera? Like, all right, that's kind of good. Oh, is that the sweet spot? Yeah, it's pretty good. I might change it again. I don't know.
I never like my camera angle. Yeah, it's look at Eric. Eric's in the chat. What's up, man? My list is too long for the chat, right? Marty, what's up, Trash Picture Show? All right.
He's going to be on my show soon.
Nice.
He's debuting awesome. A new voice on my show.
Nice. What's up, DMC? Saying hey, Night and Gory. All right. Hi. Very cool. All right. So let's get down to brass tacks. Let's do this thing. First of all, let's start with you, Gory. What's going on with your channel? Anything that's new that's coming up that you want to talk about or promote? And for folks that may not have had a chance to see a lot of your stuff, how would you describe what you're up to lately?
Well, now I'm glad you asked, because I'm up to lots of stuff. So efficient.
Really?
So on my show, I have big breaks between videos because I do these older gory details videos where I try to take B movies that don't usually get that love, that don't get the documentary treatment, and I research like crazy, and I like to get you all them gory details on B movies and just kind of celebrate them because, like, they get a little overlooked. Some of them are forgotten, some of them are obscure, some of them are kind of cheesy, but I love them. And I've been doing a lot of shorter videos. Like I reviewed Scream. Danny was with me. We talked about Scream. So I'm trying to do more of that so that there's not such a big break. But right now I am working on a big all the gory details. I'm doing Leprechaun, which was a special request from my brother, who doesn't even like. He is such a horror noob. He calls Leatherface Skin Face.
No.
Yeah, he's a noob, but he does like Leprechaun. So I'm doing this video for him. And Marty is voicing my dog, who's apparently Irish, because I didn't want to do an Irish accent because I just thought it'd just come off offensive. So Marty helped me out.
Nice.
He is now the voice of Brewster the dog. And I'm also going to be doing, I had to re-record it. Have you ever had a video you recorded and you thought everything was great and then you see the footage? I did that with my ranking of Scream. The whole thing was out of focus. So I got to re-record that.
Wow. Yeah, I've had that happen to me before too. I've had stuff happen live. As a matter of fact, we just had a big snafu the other day because we were supposed to do our interview. and there was a time zone mix up and so forth. So people are in the live chat and they're like, yeah, we're about to see the show. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Oh
So,
no.
but it worked out good.
I had a live stream once for my cat. I think it was a big one too. I think it was like the Oscars and Horror Addicts. My cat jumped on my computer and hit the power button during a live stream.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yeah, I think people they have to appreciate the difficulty in trying to do this stuff live, or obviously when you record a video, because there's so much that goes into it. There's a whole bunch, Very, very cool stuff. Let's see. Robin saying, love the Carrie poster. Yeah, thank you.
Great posters.
Yeah.
Knight and I have the same Friday the 13th poster. Look at that.
Right?
Poster twins.
And you got that Halloween poster. I love that.
Right,
what's up, Seth? All right. Okay. Was it a Night Watch Zone mix-up? No. Too funny. But
somewhere, right?
You're right. Exactly. So I got to use that as a tagline. That's what I got to do.
I'm here to help.
It's always night somewhere in the world. So, okay, so you got some new stuff coming up. Now, here's a big question, because obviously you're doing stuff on your channel, you're doing stuff on Horror Addicts. How difficult is that to juggle? Or is it difficult at all?
It's actually pretty easy. Danny did mention we are doing the Oscars, which, oh gosh, I think we're on our 6th annual Oscars. It's one of our oldest events we do. It's Oscars for horror people, and we do it the night of the Oscars, so you got something to watch, because I don't want to sit through that. Yeah. Horror gets snubbed every year, so I gave up on that a long time ago. We do the Oscars, and it's pretty easy because Danny runs Horror Addicts. He does all the editing. I help him with his streams sometimes, because I'm kind of his Donatello of the Ninja Turtles. But yeah, he does all that stuff himself. And then on my channel, I do all the editing, and then we cross over a bit. Like I'll have him, on my show, but then I'm the one who edits it. If I'm on his show, he edits it. So it works out. And usually, if I'm making videos anyway, I'm like, hey, did you want me to do anything? Because, get me while I'm awake.
Right. Well, that's some cool stuff, because yeah, I'd much rather watch the Oscars. You know what I'm saying? It's not even a question. And watching the last one, what's so amazing is I can imagine the amount of work it takes to put it all together. Like it's phenomenal. Seriously. It's very, very cool stuff.
Gathering nominations. I think Dan's finalizing the nominations today. So if you guys have nominations for anything, send them his way. He is in the chat right now. And then we're going to start sending out voting ballots to basically everyone we know in the horror community, and filmmakers and horror writers, all kinds of people. And then they vote. And then we have announcers. So we have it's basically like the Oscars. So we have different people who present different awards, and sometimes they're really creative and stuff. Everyone gets to do their own thing. So it's really fun.
Nice. All right. Eric saying bonus points for the Donatello reference. That turtle needs more love. I always loved watching Donatello.
He does machines.
That was good. Oh man. DMC saying Gory helps out, throws in a dog or two.
I do indeed. You know what? This is for my buddy DMC Campbell in the chat. I love trivia. That's one of the things I like about all the gory details, because I think when you know how much work goes into a movie, even if it's a B movie, when you know how much love and work goes into a movie, I think you appreciate it more. I mean, there are a lot of movies that I don't really care for, but it's usually because I feel like they're kind of soulless. But even the cheapest movie, if I find out that some love went into that, I'm on board. Something fun I learned researching for Leprechaun is Gabe Bartelos, who did the makeup effects, who designed the look of the Leprechaun. He also designed my favorite talking dog, Aylmer, from Brain Damage.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
He is my favorite talking dog. There's a list.
There's a list.
Yeah.
Nice. Flamethrower, what's up? Flamethrower's in the chat. All right. Very, very cool. So, all right. So this is the thing that I was really interested in, because I know that you have some really unique taste in movies. So how about just giving me, we'll go through a couple, in a row. Give me a couple of your movies that that universally people don't like, or they have an issue with, or that they hate, that you do like or love.
I think a lot of the ones I really like are kind of harmless. I don't think anyone really hates them. They're just kind of like, oh, but here's one I talked to you about a little while ago. Uninvited. I love this movie so much. I watch it when I'm sick. I watch it when I've had a bad day. This movie always cheers me up. A lot of people haven't seen this one, so I don't know if they hate it. I actually think more people should watch it. But it's about a cat that's experimented on. These girls take it in, they bring it onto a yacht with them, with this guy who invited them onto this yacht, and he's a gangster. And when the cat's threatened, it pukes up a smaller mutant cat. That gets me every time. I love the cheesy effects. I love everything about this movie. This movie is so much fun. So that's one that I will show people, and they're like, "Oh, it's like a so bad it's good thing." I'm like, it's just so good. It's just so
how did you find it?
I just remember, I think I rented it like back in the day from like Blockbuster, because the poster, I had the poster up on my wall too, but the poster was, and the box cover was this cat puking up a smaller cat, and so I'm like, that sounds like my kind of jam and jelly right there. So
nice. I never heard of it. Yeah,
you are missing out, Robin. And I got this sweet vinegar syndrome. You like vinegar syndrome? I know you. I see you.
Wow, I had never heard of it too. Dan said that's a wacky movie. Dan, you've actually seen that? Are you serious? Friggin' Dan.
Dan knows what's up.
That's awesome. Wayne saying an old school Aussie horror. All right.
An old school Aussie horror I really like. I wonder if Wayne has seen it. It's called Undead. It's another one that doesn't get enough love. It's interesting because it starts off as a zombie type threat, and then you get into aliens and it gets weird, and there's tons of head explosions. Great underrated Aussie horror movie. Undead.
Is it from the 80s?
No, let me see. Let's see here. Why are there so many movies in this house? Where is it? Now you're making me look bad, movie collection. Okay, here we go. Visuals. This is Undead. Look at this movie. This movie's great.
Oh, wow.
Great. Right. And this movie came out in 2003.
Ooh, all right. Okay. Nice. DMC. I actually saw the watch along Corey did once with Danny for the Uninvited. Nice. Nice.
That was fun. I showed that movie to everybody.
Freddy's dead. Nuff said, no, Monty.
That movie's witches, Monty. I'm just saying.
Jeez. Okay. Okay. So hold on, because Monty is a huge Freddy Krueger fan. Okay, and obviously, so are a lot of people. It's one of the big three. You know, when you're talking about Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street. What movies are there? Any movies in the series for the Nightmare on Elm Street that you do not like? And if so, what are they?
I like them all. I think they're great. The one I like the least is Freddy is Dead. I just like when he's dressed up as like a witch and stuff. I'm like, come on, Freddy. Come on. A lot of it, Roseanne Arnold's in it. There's some things I really, really hate about it. I think they went too far. But there are some elements, like some of the characters, like the kid with the hearing condition. I think they're interesting characters. I don't hate it. It's just my least favorite. The other one that I have a lot of issues with, and it's an unpopular opinion, is Freddy versus Jason. Because like I said, I like it when I feel like the people who are making the movie really care. And they clearly didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Right. Jason's afraid of water now, hun.
He drowned.
Part 8, he's in the water most of the movie. You know, he give swimming lessons. Well, he probably can't. Well, he can now. I don't know. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. I'd like to hear what you think. But, you know, like that really upset me because I love the character of Jason. I was like, you gonna make this movie. You're going to put all this money in this and you don't have the time to watch those movies. That just really upsets me. It makes me angry. Whereas the Friday the 13th remake, I was like, wow, they love Jason. They've done their homework. Like, so that's where the line is for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, the director, was it Ronnie Yu?
Ronnie Yu, who did Bride of Chucky, which is what hurts me about that, because I love Bride of Chucky.
Yeah, but he actually said, the behind the scenes, he had said he had never watched a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. And, you know, he kind of did his quick little watch of them and then said, I just want to put them together and it'll be like a WWE match or whatever. And it's like, No, I mean, I can, I enjoy it to a certain degree, but it's definitely not my favorite in either franchise.
Okay.
Mostly because I don't like the way Jason was portrayed. Like Robert Englund was great in the movie, but Jason, he's just walking around like Frankenstein, and there was no oomph to
And
his
I think it's
character at
the
all.
guy who runs the diner in part 8, Ken Kurtzinger, because he's got
Yes,
kind eyes. Like, come on, Kane Hodder was wanting to do that movie. I thought that was a huge
yes,
disservice to the fans, disservice to Kane.
yeah,
The other thing that bothered me is I think it's a cool premise, and I
yes,
do think Freddy's good in it, but
yes,
Freddy gets one kill in the whole movie. Like,
right,
I think where that movie shines is the final battle between the two of them. Like, that's cool. That's some
yeah,
WWE stuff right there. But
right.
I wanted to see my boy Freddy get some more kills, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how they portrayed Jason, like him crying in the water. Come on,
Yeah,
dude.
I was like,
Oh,
what?
and some of the lines were so disrespectful. I hated the kids when she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"You're not even scary. You're wearing your Christmas
Yep.
shirt." I'm like, "Girl, you sit down. You respect Freddy. Like, you probably weren't even born when those movies came out."
Right.
It's just disrespectful.
Oh, we got Wayne saying Freddy's Revenge. Now, I'm gonna say it right now, and we went through the series a long time ago. We got to redo it, but I actually enjoy Freddy's Revenge, and I know a lot of
I
people.
actually love that one too.
Oh, okay, all right. So you know
I
what I'm talking
love
about,
that movie. I think it's weird that Jack Shoulder, who directed it, says, "I didn't know there was any gay subtext." But
right?
that's how I read the movie, and I think it's got some
Mhm.
cool themes. I think the love interest part is weird for that reason. But I
Exactly.
like the characters a lot, and I think Mark Patton did a terrific job. I'm really sad. If you watch Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, it's all basically how that movie kind of ruined his life for a while.
Right.
And
Yep.
it's really sad because I think he's great in the film. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really unique Nightmare on Elm Street story where it's
It
like
is.
attacking him personally. And
Mm-hmm.
it, honestly, I remember my parents weren't big slasher fans, big horror fans, not big slasher fans, but I still remember coming out when the school bus scene was on and just being like, whoa, what is this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. That movie is genuinely horrifying, great makeup effects. It has its issues, but
Yeah.
horribly underrated.
Yeah, I agree. It was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie I saw, and I dug it. As a matter of fact, even to this day, when I think of Freddy, I think that was a really good combination of like a serious and dark and scary Freddy. And he did have a couple of, little one-liners, like when we got to Dream Warriors, which I absolutely love Dream Warriors, but when we
That's
got to Dream Warriors, that's when he started to turn the corner, and there was jokes and cracks, for every
we still have
kill.
like that puppet scene, like there's the marionette scene, like there's some parts in that are still very scary. Whereas in Freddy's Dead,
Yeah.
there's no part of that movie where I think he is actually very scary. Like, I feel like he's off his
Yes.
edge, but I
Yes.
don't hate it. It's a good time with beer and pizza. It's just not a movie that's scary or as effective as the other ones.
With a lot of beer. A lot of
And
beer.
oh, what you doing dressing up like witches? That is witches. What are you doing?
I know, I couldn't believe it, man. And my man Eric, I know he loves this. He says, "I love Monty's love and constant defense of Freddy's dead." It's
I just
it's
love
not
Monty. Monty's
it's
great.
not horrible, but yeah, it's definitely not my favorite in the franchise. Well, here's a good question.
Here's what I always say to everybody though, even if you love something I hate, I love something you hate, the fact that
Mhm.
you love horror at all makes you already my favorite kind of people. We don't have to like the
Right.
exact same movies. The fact that you like a horror movie makes you pretty awesome in my eyes,
I
even if it's
agree.
not the same as me.
I agree. I agree. Now, what about, because I know especially Eric enjoys this type of conversation, and I think Monty as well. What about the remake? What were your thoughts on the remake?
It's kind of off because one of the things I actually like about A Nightmare on Elm Street was based on a couple things. It was based on a news story about a kid. I can't remember what country he was from, but he wasn't sleeping and he finally
Like in
died in his
Asia?
sleep. Yeah, he died in his sleep
Hmm.
surrounded by a bunch of coffee mugs. And Wes Craven's always inspired by things in the news. And it was also inspired by a time when he looked out his window as a child and there was a man in like the hat and he looked at him and
Hmm.
he smiled, scared the shit out
Hmm.
of him. And it was also loosely inspired by this sexual predator that he had been reading about. So originally, Nightmare on Elm Street, it was going to be clear that Freddy was a child pedophile, that
Hmm.
he was not only killing the children, he was molesting them. And I'm really glad they didn't do that because I do want to enjoy Freddy, and that would kind of sour the character for me.
Right.
Like there are a lot of characters who do bad things, but I'm like, it's Chucky. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's having fun. That's kind of a line where I'm just like, oh, it's just too icky. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think it's interesting that they explored that. They did something different. But one of the things that rubs me wrong about that movie is they came out saying, we're going to do this very serious Nightmare on Elm Street. We're going to go darker than it was willing to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost kind of shit on it. And then they use a lot of the lines from the other movies and they're out of context and they don't make sense. Like when she's going up the
Right.
stairs and he's like, how's this for a wet dream? I'm like, that doesn't even make sense in what you're doing here. Like that was a waterbed scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't love it, but I really don't hate it. I mean, I own it. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's some good things in it. I think the performances are good. There's some nice visuals.
Right.
I think there's some shit CGI, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Especially that bedroom scene where he's coming out of the wall. I couldn't believe how bad that looks compared to the original. You're talking about like a 30-year gap between the two movies, and the 84 original, it looked very good. It still looks very good, you know? So the
and it was
CGI.
It's so
exactly.
easy. I hate it when I see a movie and this is the stuff that makes me turn against a movie. Not being cheap, not being cheesy, not even having bad acting as long as they're trying their best.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I see something like CGI blood. I'm like, that is the easiest effect to do in the world. Why are you using CGI blood?
Right.
I just don't get it.
Absolutely. I agree.
The power glove.
The power glove. Yeah, you know, okay. Look, so when I saw when I saw the movie and I saw the power glove, obviously I was playing video games as a kid back then, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. It's not as cool anymore, but you know, it's a
power glove wasn't very good. Like if you were alive then and you tried one, like it was not a good thing.
Right?
It didn't work very well.
I agree.
I just my hair and now I feel like all exposed.
Flamethrower. I love Deadly Friend and Shocker. Deadly Friend is a good movie.
Both those movies. Wes Craven is my favorite director, and my mom for Valentine's Day, she got me Deadly Friend, the Scream Factory one.
Yes.
Oh, so good. And I love Shocker. I had the Scream Factory, that one too. Danny and I get into it a lot because I love Shocker. He thinks it's really cheesy. He prefers people into the stairs. I'm like, I like it, but Shocker's great. Shocker.
Yeah, so Shocker is a good one. Yeah, I agree.
It's just so bizarre. It goes into these weird, bizarre, like nightmare territories. It has a bit of that Nightmare on Elm Street in it that I really like.
It does. Yeah, I agree. Who likes Wes Craven's New Nightmare? I do.
This guy.
I do. Yeah. I felt kind of bad because, Wes Craven comes back. He had a really cool concept. He was meta way before Scream, obviously. And it was great seeing, Heather Langenkamp and John Saxon and all these guys to get back together. Robert playing himself. I thought it was, and Freddy was scary again, but he also still had a couple of his little one-liners. I think it was a good combination. But the movie, people just didn't buy into it. And part of me, especially now, looking at those types of things, I think is because Freddy's Dead really left a bad taste in people's mouths at the time, and they just weren't ready.
It was long. Something about that movie I think is really cool is it explores this idea that it hasn't been explored enough in movies, which is bizarre, but it talks about how, like, because of the movies, Freddy is actually this being that is getting stronger. And I think when you look at movies, like I've had movies in my life that, like, for weeks at a time, I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares about. And that movie basically took control of my life, like a demon. And that's essentially what this movie is. And I think movies do have the power to haunt you like that. Movie can. Yeah. I watched the worst movie I ever watched. Not worse because it's bad, but just worse because it was not for me. I watched The Girl Next Door. The movie is brutal. And I was like in tears afterwards. That movie broke me. Like, movies can be like demons. They can haunt you. They can get inside you.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. Danny saying, I saw Freddy's Dead in the theater in 3D. Love it.
His dad worked at the theater, so he got to see all kinds of stuff. He lived above a drive-in.
That's cool. Love it. Maverick's in the chat too. Halloween 6 is a guilty pleasure of mine. All right. The Curse of Michael Myers. I don't know, man. Curse of Michael Myers. It had some good moments. We actually did a review of it. And it had some good moments, but yeah, man, it's definitely not one of my favorites in the Halloween franchise. Definitely not.
I think there's some cool. I love Spookies. Gabe Bartelos, who's the makeup artist in Leprechaun, was the makeup artist on Spookies, and he played one of the farting zombies. It's a little too good, isn't it?
Nice. What were you gonna say about Halloween 6?
I think there's some really great cinematography. I think the mask looks phenomenal. I like Paul Rudd in
Yeah,
it. He's a
compared to
little
part
odd, but
5.
I like him. I like they did some unique things with characters I think are good. The producers cut, in between the producers cut and Curse, there is a really good movie. And I know a lot of people have made their own fan cuts.
Hmm.
I hate that the producers cut implied that Michael is the father of the baby. I hate that
Right.
so much. And
Yes.
then when he's like, there are runes, I cannot move. I don't really like him being someone's puppet.
Yeah, that
But
was just
it's
weird.
in the 90s, before there was a period of time like in the early 90s when there wasn't a lot coming out at cinemas, and when horror did come out, it didn't stay very long.
Hmm.
And so you'd go to the video store and a lot of it was kind of crap, but I remember seeing part 6 of Halloween and Texas
Hmm.
Chainsaw the Next Generation, and at the time that was like some of the only new horror out there, so I do
Right.
have like love for it, even though I
That's a
recognize it's not the best of its franchise.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because back then it was so different than it is now. So you didn't have a lot of choices, you didn't have streaming, and for a lot of us of that time period, we'd go and rent movies, and like you said, this is all that we had for new movies. Otherwise just watch the ones you've already seen or old school stuff,
Or maybe
so that's
something
the
would come
point.
on TV and you happen to
Right.
catch it.
Right, right.
And
Yep,
especially
that's true.
being younger at the time, like I couldn't go to the movie. My mom would sign me into a lot of movies. But
Hmm.
when I was pretty young, like I would go to Blockbuster and just grab whatever I wanted. They don't
Right.
charge you at Blockbuster. You can get whatever you want. And like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that was my first Texas Chainsaw movie. I just saw it was a new release. It looked cool. I grabbed it. I watched it. I had nothing to compare it to.
Hmm.
I was a kid. It
Yep.
seemed all right.
Yep.
Now I watch it and I'm just like, oh wow, it's a shitty Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I love that part where she's like, you sit the fuck down. I fucking love that. I can't
Yes.
help it. That movie's a good time.
That was a good
You
one,
sit
yeah.
the fuck
Re
down.
Renee
I love that.
Zellweger. Haunted
Renee
by
Zellweger.
Horror. Freddy v. Jason was just disappointing because we waited so long for it, and that's what we got. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I I got to give them credit because at least what they came up with, it made some type of sense because they went through like so many drafts of that movie for years. They were trying to make it work. And at least what they came up with made sense. I just didn't like the way they portrayed Jason. And like you said, Freddy should have had, more kills, or
I like
something.
the concept. That's a cool concept.
Yeah. Yep.
It's better
Yep.
than some. After that movie came out, it was so successful. They really tried to. All the studios were looking at their libraries, like, what can we do? I just did Leprechaun, so the one they tried to do, they're like, what are our two biggest horror icons? Okay, we got Candyman, we got Leprechaun, and they
Hmm.
pitched it to Tony Todd. They like took the time out of that man's day to pitch this
Yes.
garbage to him, and he's like, what? No, no, never. That's a horrible idea. I'm just like,
Right.
wow. Why? Who
Oh
thought
man.
that was a good enough idea to even start pitching it to anybody? That's like,
Right. Well,
ugh.
they were trying to do, I thought I heard that they were trying to do Pinhead versus God, I don't know who it
Well,
was.
originally, what was supposed they had an idea. It was never Pinhead against anybody. The one of the ideas that was spun around was at the
Hmm.
end of this, at the end of Freddy versus Jason, they would go to hell, and then Pinhead
Right.
would go, "Who's next?" And
Right.
then they were thinking about introducing like Ash and a few other ones, and they ended up making a comic book series, kind of exploring a lot of these ideas, which is actually a
Hmm.
really good comic series.
Yeah, it was. I remember that.
Nightmare Terrors. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been cool to see that. It really would. Dan saying, Ronnie, you made some great old school Hong Kong films like The Bride with
I
White
did.
Hair. Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
can see that influence in Bride of Chucky, especially that scene at the end where he's getting the heart of Damballa and they're doing the trade off with Tiffany and the girlfriend. That you can see his influences there from his Asian horror movies. Like it's a
Yep.
beautiful film. Bride of Chucky does not get enough credit. That movie is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous film, brilliant
Hmm.
soundtrack, brilliant cast, fun story.
Hmm.
Love it.
It
Love
is
it so
good.
much.
Yeah. Robin saying, I've only seen Hellraiser 1 through 4, and that is all that you need to see. You do not need to see anything after that. I'm just putting it out there. One of
Just
my most.
I did a marathon because I kind of sat down one day and I was like, why haven't I seen this? I got them. I got like the DVDs online and I did a marathon. We get to 4. I'm like, Bloodline's better than people say it is. What the fuck? I watch them 4 and I'm like, all right. Whereas we're getting down to Hellseeker and stuff. I'm just like, no. Got to Hell where I'm like, it can't get any worse. Watch
Right.
Revelations. I'm like throwing up in my mouth. Like,
Oh
it's so
man.
bad.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan and I think it's because the first movie is such a great movie, and the sequel could be argued as good, if not better. To me,
I
anyways.
agree. They're on the same level. Here's an unpopular opinion. I don't like Hell on Earth. I know everyone loves that one. It's the first one
Ooh.
where Hellraiser came to America. Everyone loves that. I think the CD head thing is stupid. To me, it feels very cash grabby. And like I said, that's the one way to turn me off of a film. If it feels cash grabby. And I really hated, I know Doug Bradley. I've talked to Doug Bradley. That's his favorite one. I think it's because he was given more screen time. He was given more to do.
Right.
So I understand where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they tried to make him too much like Freddy Krueger with the one-liners. And
Yes.
he is better when he's stoic, when he's kind of kept to the shadows, when he's kept mysterious. And I feel like that movie kind of ruined him in some ways. I don't hate it. It just, I don't like it as much as everyone else does.
Yeah.
I think Bloodline's better.
Really?
Yes. I think Bloodline's great.
Wow. All right. Monty and Eric and a couple of you guys.
Okay. Monty. I've been saying this for years.
You guys got to remember this.
All right. I've been saying this for years. Jennifer's Body is not a guilty pleasure. That is a legitimately good movie. Original storyline has a lot of complex themes in there about like toxic friendships, about all kinds of things that like what high school does to a teenage girl. That movie is gold. Beautifully written. Again, beautiful soundtrack. Beautifully shot. Great performances all around. We need to stop calling Jennifer's Body a guilty pleasure. That is a good movie.
It really does have a bad rap, doesn't it?
I remember, a lot of people I saw that in the theater. I went into it with like no real preconceptions. And the problem with Jennifer's Body was the way it was marketed. It's a movie written for girls. It's a movie written for people who like Heathers or people who like drawing a total blank right now, but Mean Girls, like movies like it's meant for that audience.
Right.
The studio was like, well, Megan Fox sexy. So they just showed a lot of stuff that made people think that this was going to be like a sexy girl killing guys thing. And so a lot of teenage boys, young men went to go see it. And they're like, that's not what this is. This is a lot of chick stuff. What the fuck? And then they got upset that they went home with blue balls and they didn't get the movie they wanted, which understandably you were promised something, you didn't get it. And then the audience that would have enjoyed it, the audience that likes Heathers, that likes Mean Girls, that likes Jawbreaker, didn't go and see it because they were like, oh, it's the girl from Transformers and she's just walking around all scanty clad. Luckily, I see everything. I saw the theater and I'm like, that was really fucking good.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
It's one of my favorites. I love that movie.
Yeah, I think it's a good one too. New Nightmare blew my mind when I first saw it by Haunted by Horror. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to really like it. It wasn't the worst thing, we'll get to Nightmare on Elm Street, as far as serious stuff, but Jackie Haley was good as Freddy, I thought, and I like him as an actor. But
I was excited when he was cast because I liked him in Watchmen.
Yeah, he was great as Rorschach. So I was like, okay, I'm on board.
Bad. There's a lot of I like Kyle Gallner, who's just recently in Scream.
That's right.
Pops up in so much stuff. He's great.
Yeah.
The one kid, Thomas Dixon, I love him. What's his last name? Dixon?
Decker.
I love him. So I have such a soft spot for him. I remember I was young when I saw it, but when he did the Village of the Damned remake, he was so sweet in that movie. And I fell in love with him. Then he pops up in all these horror movies. And one of my favorite things, if you guys have seen Elvira, Movie Macabre, when it came back in the 2000s, there's an episode where he comes to her door and he says he's her son.
Oh, gosh.
And it's so great. He plays her son, and it's wonderful.
Nice.
Basket Case. Wayne Turner.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Blucka's in the chat.
Anything Henenlotter. Gold.
Nice.
But Henenlotter just wants to make a fun movie. He will go guerrilla style. He filmed a man running naked through New York City. He is such a renegade. He is a renegade. He loves his cast. He brings them back. Oh my gosh. The woman who is the sex worker in the first one, she's in every single one of his movies. Like, I love that. I love that passion for filmmaking.
I do like that when directors will keep, cast together and reuse cast. That's really, I really do like that. Like Carpenter, he did that a lot, which was really, really cool. But what do you think about the collection movies? That's from Blucka.
I think the collector is really good. It wasn't the most original thing when I saw it. I was like, okay, I've seen stuff like this kind of before. It's obviously inspired by
Right.
Saw. I think what sets it apart is the leading man. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's terrific. And I think the character is so complex. Like, you're like, do I root for him or not? And I think those are really interesting characters. I wasn't that big into the collection, but I think I need to revisit it because I get told a lot that it's really good. I'm like, I don't remember it being that good. And there's a new one coming out soon.
Hopefully.
So yeah, hopefully. So I'll probably marathon the whole set. But I do have the collector. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's good too. Why do you insist we compare Shocker with people under the stairs? I like that.
Marriage, guys. This is freaking marriage. These are the fights me and my husband have.
Right. Eric, Bloodlines isn't awful, not great, but not awful. Eric, come on, man. You know the truth.
Here's what I like about Bloodlines is Clyde Barker, he wasn't that involved in Hell on Earth. And he had a big scope. And unfortunately, what this movie suffers from is he had big ideas. He didn't have the money to carry all of them out. And so they had to go cheap on some things. But some things like Angelique and stuff in there, she's phenomenal. I could have done without Adam Scott because just between you and me, I hate that guy. That guy annoys the fuck out of me. Like, his fucking squirmy face. I just want to Adam fucking Scott. Oh, now I'm in a bad mood. Anyway, but beyond Adam Scott, the movie's really creative. It's an epic story. I wish a studio would have trusted Clyde Barker and given him the epic budget to let it really, be what it was supposed to be.
I agree. Yeah, it definitely. That was the one that really. That's when I checked out on the series. But I do agree. Like, it definitely had some promise.
I like it when people who that's my girl Beth. I like it when filmmakers are passionate and they take risks because it's hard in Hollywood to take risks. Studios don't want you to take risks. Studios get scared when they don't want to give you money if you're taking a risk. And so if you take a risk, even if you crash and burn, that's amazing. I'm happy that you did that. It shows that you are passionate. I love Don Mancini, who does the Chucky movies, and his first run, he wanted to direct Bride of Chucky. And they're like, tell you what, why don't you be involved in this one? You watch it. You see how it's done. We'll let you direct the next one. It was his first thing out of the gate. He didn't get as big of a budget for that one. And yeah, it's not the best Chucky movie, but he took a risk. And you know what? Even when that one failed, he still got back on that horse. And then he gave us Curse of Chucky, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I do like Curse of Chucky.
It takes a lot of cojones to do that.
Right.
You have I've had bad videos and stuff before where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that kind of video again. This is a man who's making a movie that the world is seeing, that people are talking about in magazines, people are shitting on. To get back on that horse and put out another one in that franchise, that took some balls.
It does. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Actually, why do I say that? I hate that I say that because balls are so fragile. Like, they're the most fragile things. It gets a little cold and they like shrivel up. That takes some massive ovaries. Ovaries are tough.
Ovaries. What about the Lawnmower Man? Miss 80 saying Lawnmower Man. I watched a ton as a kid. I did as well, and I have no problem saying that I enjoyed the Lawnmower Man. I actually did. Me and my brother.
I like the Lawnmower Man as well.
Oh, okay.
James
Well, that
Bond turned Rex Manning into
that was easy.
Superhero.
Chopping Mall.
I
Nice.
love Chopping Mall. Chopping Mall, I want to love it more than I do, but I do love it.
Some
of the jokes don't quite land for me. Some of it's kind of like there's dad jokes and then there's like grandpa jokes, and you're like,
right.
Whoa. And the teens, like, there's a lot of the teens trying to hook up. Like, it kind of feels like it's got horny old man paws on it, but I still like it.
Right. No, I agree. Absolutely.
Sorry, Monty is so funny.
He is funny.
He's like your buddy who's like, yeah. Like, when
he's the hype man. He's the hype man.
He's the best hype man.
He is.
He's my buddy. I love Monty.
What's up, Craven? Something scary. My buddy Steven in the chat.
Yeah,
What's up?
I went to streams recently. Good stuff.
Woohoo! Yeah, Shocker is awesome.
Shocker. See, these guys know you got a good audience.
Yeah, they know what's up.
They know what's up.
Pamela saying Shocker. She loves Shocker. That's right.
It's so good.
Videodrome saying I'm a little sad with all the 2009 Final Destination hate. Yeah, that was the Final Destination, I believe. That was the fourth one.
Is that the one with the race car?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one a lot of people kind of hate on a bit.
Yeah. It had moments.
Some of the CGI is kind of garbage in it. I will say that. And
yeah.
It had some really awful characters. I hated the redneck guy, but then it's Final Destination, and you're waiting for these guys to die. And I was really happy when that guy died. And there were some cool deaths in it. I think, isn't that the one with the eye surgery one?
Yeah. No. That's 5. That's 5.
I get them mixed up. But the thing with Final Destination is it's like McDonald's. Like, it may not be the most nutritious thing ever, but sometimes I'm just craving Final Destination, and it does deliver. Right? Every movie, it's like Saw. Every movie, it gives me cool creative deaths, and a lot of those movies have surprisingly stuck with me. I can't drive down the highway behind a truck with logs on it without thinking of Final Destination 2.
No, I agree. We when we went through the movies and we talked about each one, that's what we kept talking about. Is like, if you're behind a log truck, you start getting nervous and you try to get out of that lane quick.
That actually, something similar to that kind of happened. I mean, luckily nothing bad happened, but we were driving and an RV was in front of us, and I didn't even know to be afraid of, because usually I'm afraid if there's anything behind a truck, that could fly off. Her lawn chair flew off her truck, hit our windshield, and luckily it broke off, but it did crack up the windshield, but it was like right in front of my face. I'm like, oh my God, like it took me a second. I was like, if that went through, like, wow, that was really scary. Luckily it just kind of bounced off.
Wow. Dang. New Nightmare needs more style and more shock. It's too manicured and not even much drama to justify it being so operatic without the oomph of a dark opera. All right. I love New Nightmare.
Wayne Turner, we are separated at birth, twins here, my friend, because everyone hates Soul Survivors. Everyone hates that movie. I had a tonsillectomy, couldn't leave my bed, was living on freaking liquid diet here. And I was like, what horror movies are at the store? Like, they're like, do you need anything? I'm like, I need some horror movies. And someone rented that for me, and I had a great time. Like, I forgot that I was in a lot of pain, and I own it. I love that movie. It's got Eliza Dushku in it. It's got a really cool story. You got Luke Wilson.
I liked it. Yeah.
I like it too.
Right?
What's up here?
Wayne, oh my gosh, The Box with Cameron Diaz and James Marsden. That is so funny you're saying that, because just last week I was watching it. I've seen it before. I actually like that movie. It's got Frank Langella in it. Shout out to him. But there are a lot of people that don't like that movie, but I actually love it. I really do.
Had some creative stuff. So my favorite author of all time is Richard Matheson. He's just so, it's hard to find an author who gets so many different genres so well.
Right.
He gets romance, like in Somewhere in Time. He gets horror, like I Am Legend. He gets drama in What Dreams May Come. He's so amazing. He wrote some of the best episodes of The Twilight Zone, like the one with the goblin guy in the plane. He wrote that. He's so incredible. Well, he wrote a story called Button, and that's what The Box is based on. And it's really a simple story. In Button, they get the box and it has a button on it. And they're like, okay, if you push it, somebody random will die and you get a bunch of money. And they're like, okay. And then they agree as a couple they're not going to do it. And the husband goes to work and the wife gives in. She pushes the button and she gets a phone call saying her husband was, I think, pushed off a subway landing and she's going to get a whole bunch of money. And so it all ties together. And then she hears from the box people and she's like, well, you said it would somebody I didn't know. And they're like, well, how well did you really know your husband? Like, it's simple, but it's really good. But I feel like that story expanded upon it well. He had one story I really do love. My favorite short story by Richard Matheson. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
No, that's good.
It's a really great short story. I wish I could remember the name of it. But this guy goes to a funeral parlor and he goes into such depth about his wife and how much he loved her and what she meant to him. And you're like really kind of feeling for this man. Right. And then finally the funeral director says, well, when did she die? He goes, when I get home. Love it. It's so good.
Oh, wow. Right?
Nice. Richard Matheson.
Cool. Talented. Very talented.
That's my popular opinion. I hate the I Am Legend movie.
Which, you mean the one with Will Smith?
Truly hate that movie.
You hate it?
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
I love Will Smith. I love the dog. I get why people like it, but if that book meant so much to me, that book is it is my favorite book of all time. Yeah. And the essence of what this book is about, because it ends not like how it does in the movie. It ends with he does get kind of tricked by one of them they've gotten smarter. And he's basically going to be executed, and she sneaks him a pill. And
Mm-hmm.
she tells him, because she has grown fond of him, she's like, yeah, you're going to die. But
Mm-hmm.
she's like, but in a way, you're never going to die because you've become a legend. You've become like a vampire, a Dracula, a boogeyman. You'll live on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the importance of like legends, the importance of stories, and how the importance of even great acts in history, like how they live on forever. And that is the essence of this. It's the power of like, myth and stuff. This man who's the last human ever, who's so terrified of all these vampires,
Mm-hmm.
he lived so long that the vampires were afraid of him, and he will never die. And that
Mm-hmm.
is such a monumental idea. And
Right.
that movie missed the point.
Now
I
here's a
just
good question. Now,
wouldn't miss
did
it now.
did you see the version with Charlton Heston, the Omega
Yeah,
Man?
I've seen that one. The one I like the closest, even Night of the Living Dead is loosely kind of based on it. The
Right.
one I like
Yeah.
the best is Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. That's the
Vincent
closest
Price.
I think we've come to it. But none of them has
Yeah.
really gotten the magnitude of how big this story is.
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
feel like you read the plot points, but you didn't
Mm-hmm.
get the movie. You didn't
Right.
get the book.
Now, would that
And
be
Richard
something?
Matheson hated it too.
I did hear that. Yeah. Do you think that that would be something that number one should try to be handled again, and number two, if so, is there any director that you could see that could do it justice?
I think you would need somebody who has a good, because there's a lot of great movies out there and they exist. Like Buffy was a great example. You can watch Buffy and it's a girl fighting vampires and you can enjoy it like that. But a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
episodes were a metaphor for something. Like she
Right.
sleeps with the angel, he loses his soul. It was a metaphor for that guy who ends up being an asshole the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who really gets that is Jordan Peele. You can watch Get Out and it's like a Stepford Wives type movie and it's really creepy and really good. But if you know what he's trying to say, about
Mm-hmm.
like racism and stuff, then it has a whole other layer. I'm excited about Nope. So I think
Mm-hmm.
somebody who understands how how important metaphor is to story, somebody like Jordan Peele
Mm-hmm.
who would get that, I think would be good.
What did you think of Us?
Us, I was a little disappointed by Us.
Mm-hmm.
I did like it. Here's my biggest problem with it. It's loosely inspired by an episode of The Twilight Zone. And the episode
Right.
he was loosely inspired by, it's another dimension. I
Mm-hmm.
think that works better because what I didn't like about Us, I liked everything up until the reveal of what it was. Like the whole science of it, I was like, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any fucking sense. Like the
Right.
underground everywhere. Like it didn't make any sense. If he kept it more mystical and it was another dimension that they're in, you would have fixed that problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that
No, I
one little
agree.
part of it, the phlebotomy, because like I've watched Get Out 1,000 times, and it's one of those few perfect movies where I'm like, there is nothing wrong with this damn movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Mm-hmm.
flawless. But Us,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one part I'm like, oh, why don't you could have just, it's so damn close to being, just perfect. But it's just like,
Right.
one little part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was so good up until that point because you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you've got the whole the house invasion type of vibe early on, and Lupita was amazing in that dual role. Like that was just crazy how good she was, at those different extremes. And then
She's
of course
phenomenal.
she is. And the twist at the end, and it was like, okay, and then like you said, the explanation of it all was like,
And it
I
was
don't
kind
know
of upset
about
because
that.
initially you see that there's the funhouse mirror, and I was like, okay, because I've always been terrified of mirrors. I had this antique wardrobe in my bedroom when I was a kid, and I'd see it in the corner of my eye, and I'd feel like my reflection was doing stuff I wasn't doing. It
Mm-hmm.
freaked me out. And I thought it
Ooh.
would be so cool because I thought that this movie was going to say that they were in another dimension. They were coming through the mirror.
Right, right.
And that
That's
would
what I
have been
thought
so
too.
cool. Like they could have had so many cool scares where initially before the others came, they could have seen
Mhm.
some stuff in mirrors and stuff because they look just like them. Like
Right.
I wish you would have churned that one a little bit more. I mean, I think sometimes the trouble with metaphors is sometimes they get so focused on the message that they forget about the story, and then the story has big holes in it. Like the biggest example of that is the Black Christmas remake. It's just someone sitting on a soapbox preaching, and I agree with everything she's saying, but her way of going about it, it wasn't an entertaining movie. It was a bad movie, and so
Yeah.
nobody's going to
Yeah.
listen to her, even though she's making great points. So Jordan
Absolutely.
Peele, I don't think it's nearly like that. I think it's a great movie, but it
Mhm.
could have been perfect. I just think he was just like, I want to see these really important things,
Yeah.
And he kind of like didn't pay as much attention to, well, does the story still work?
Right. Absolutely.
That's just for me. It's kind of a big plot hole. Like I'm like, it doesn't really work. I think it could have been scarier if it was a little more mystical. I love Bad Milo. Craven, what's up? I love Bud.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet, but I know.
Night, honey.
He keeps saying we got to see it, so I got to check it out at some point.
So check it out.
You got it?
Yeah, I do. Look behind me. Of course I got it. So this is Bad Milo. This movie scares the crap out of my kid. But this guy's like super stressed and he's getting married and blah, blah, blah. She wants kids. And then finally, he has indigestion all the time. Finally, he shits out a butt demon. And the butt demon is kind of like an id. And it doesn't really understand like nuance. Like people you love can stress you out. His wife is stressing him out, but he doesn't want her dead. Right. The butt demon, Milo, he just goes after everybody. And I like the solution to this movie was eventually, it wasn't like just kill the creature. I also love puppets. Look at that adorable puppet. You gotta love your butt demon. You gotta find peace with that darker side of you. When I was driving by Milo, I also found Baby Blood. This movie needs to be watched by more people.
I have not seen that.
Baby Blood. Oh, I want to take up all your time talking about these movies. But it's
that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're doing horror hot takes.
In 1991, it's so underrated, and it's a rare one where I'm going to tell you, watch it with the French. You know, the creature in this kind of goes, it has like this like beep 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 voice, but also watch it dubbed. I never say that, but I want you to do that with this movie. This girl, she works at like a circus, and this slug thing goes up into her hoo-ha, and she's pregnant with it. And at first she's angry and she wants to get rid of it. And it's craving blood. It wants her to go kill people. And she fucking hates it. What I love about the dub version is the creature has Gary Oldman's voice. And it's bizarre. Because at first she hates it, but then it's inside of her. She becomes kind of friends with it. They even kind of almost have like a romantic thing at one point. Because he can like pleasure her from within. But yeah, she gets him. And they're basically, he's basically part of an alien race. And he's like, yeah, it's inevitable. We're going to come here. We're going to outlive you. But yeah, she kind of ends up being on his side. It's so gory and interesting and unique. And the characters are so complicated. It's so great.
That's a good one. And what year is that from?
1991.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice.
It's French.
Eric, stop it. He says, in the end, all that matters is that you love the movie. What others think isn't important. I love Jason Goes to Hell and Elm Street 5. Hashtag haters gonna hate. You know, me and Eric.
Dr. Giggles Blu-ray too. I just saw that in the chat. That needs to happen. I love Dr. Giggles.
I like Dr. Giggles, but as far as Jason Goes to Hell is concerned, and me and Eric have had this conversation many, many times, it just wasn't a fun. It wasn't a fun Friday movie for me. It actually is a pretty okay horror movie. It's got good kills. You got Kane Hodder in it, and some really cool stuff. But as a Friday the 13th movie, oof.
See, the funny thing is that was the first one I saw in the cinema. I mean, I'd watched the TNT marathons as a kid and stuff, but I saw that one in the cinema, and it was like such a big deal. I mean, I remember having the best time, and I remember marking out so hard when Freddy dragged him to hell. And then it's one of those ones you watch later on. You watch it later on, and you're like, you know, it's kind of fun, and like how The Hidden, which is another gem, is fun.
Yes,
it's a body snatcher movie, but it's not as good as some of the other body snatcher movies. And it's just not a good Jason movie. I hate like the dagger. He tried to bring in some Evil Dead stuff in there, and I love that he had a big vision. I love that he tried something new. It certainly doesn't make it garbage, in my opinion. He at least tried something. Just a lot of it doesn't work for me. But I 100% see why some people do love it. It's got amazing practical effects in it. I think it's got the best kill in the franchise. When you watch the unrated cut, he splits that girl in half. That's a thing of beauty.
Absolutely.
That's what you put on Mama's fridge.
I like the box as well. It's flawed but visually strong. I agree, Videodrome. I agree. But, you know, the thing that would have made Jason, and we're going to be talking on this channel, we're going to be talking about Jason Goes to Hell in hopefully 3 weeks. So I know Eric is ready. He's got his timer set. But I think what would have made Jason Goes to Hell better, if we had at least maybe like 10 more minutes of actual Jason in the movie. Like there just wasn't enough Jason. And I know some people, and I know Corey Anderson, she's probably watching this, and she says, well, you saw him in the reflection of the mirror of people that were taken over by him. And I'm like, that doesn't count. I want to actually see Jason doing some shit.
Here's my thought on Jason. So like, I'm going to follow me with my metaphors or my analogies here, because they make sense in the end. You just be patient with me. When my son was little, I was going to college at the time. He hated the school mascot. And he was
Mhm.
terrified. He would hide behind me. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, because I can't see his eyes. I don't know what he's doing behind the mask. And
Mhm.
I think that's part of what makes Jason scary is I feel sympathy for him, but I don't know what's going on in that head of his. I think he's best when
Right.
you can't see his eyes. Same thing with Michael Myers too. Like, what is going on back there? And it
Mhm.
makes him kind of
Mhm.
mysterious and scary. And we rely on so many visual clues from people's faces to know if we're in danger or what's if we're being well received.
Right.
And you don't get that with Michael or Jason. It makes him terrifying. I think part of what makes Jason Goes to Hell not work is you have all these people who are Jason, but then I see their goofy little grimaces and stuff, and I'm like, oh, you're not scary. That's what was back there
Right.
the whole time. Damn it. That was
I
something
agree.
cool.
I agree. Danny's saying the Omega Man is better than I Am Legend. I can agree with that because I love the Omega Man.
I think it's
I
good.
really.
I'm a sucker for Vincent Price.
So your favorite one is the Last Man on Earth.
Oh yeah, sorry, I read that wrong. I thought you said Last Man on Earth. Yeah, the Omega Man is better than I Am Legend. I would say Last Man on Earth. Actually, I would say, even though it's very different, I fucking love Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead,
Mhm.
Last Man on Earth, The Omega Man. I Am Legend.
All right. I like it. Robin saying, don't know
Nothing
about
against the
others.
performers though. Will Smith was great in that movie, and the scene when the dog dies, that part gets me.
That
It's
part
like
gets me too.
it's kind of like the Chucky remake. I'm like, I don't hate what you did, but it's not what you didn't do the assignment. This isn't
Right.
a Chucky movie. I Am Legend. This isn't that book. So why
Right.
bother? Why not make your own thing? Because this is not that book.
I agree. I agree. TCM. All right, let's get to TCM too. What did you think of the new TCM? Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I'm coughing.
Okay.
Here's the thing with TCM. It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, like Toby Hooper, he thought a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre was funny, and honestly, you need to watch it like 16 times. But then you're like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Like when he's hitting Leatherface with the broom, that's funny. I love the
Right.
part where Grandpa just can't get it. Oh, I
Right.
love that. That cracks me up. All right, there's some funny stuff in there, but and it's initially so horrifying you don't see it. And he's like, I'm gonna make a movie where they get it.
Mm-hmm.
And he made Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which tonally is a completely different movie, but it's no less brilliant. He has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of great themes and stuff in there. So I think based on what he's established, there's a little license to do a lot of different things. My biggest complaint with Texas Chainsaw, it was a fun slasher. I think the guy who played Leatherface did a great job. I like the way he moved and stuff.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think that it was really missing out on the family. I think Leatherface is basically like a rabid dog.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't as scary on his own. He's like a bear or something. You want to avoid him, but he has no, I don't know, he's not evil. I don't
Right.
think so. His family is evil. He's
Right.
been raised badly. So
Mm-hmm.
without the family, he's not as intimidating. And I feel like they were trying way too hard to be the 2018 Halloween, bringing back Hallie's Hardesty the year after, like Elwyn Fuere from Mandy. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was incredibly disrespectful. One, Toby Hooper was not here to give his blessing. Marilyn Burns has passed away. She's not here to give her blessing. That was
Right.
their character, and they should have let it rest. I don't want to see Laurie Strode played by anyone by then Jamie Lee Curtis or without John Carpenter's blessing. And
Mm-hmm.
they had no right to touch that, and certainly not to touch it in such a horrible way. It's so shoehorned in there. It's
Yeah.
a disservice to her character. Also, it didn't really make sense to me because the way I saw it, the best follow-up to that movie as far as Sally's concerned is Next Generation. You see Marilyn Burns on a stretcher at the end there. That girl, she wasn't Nancy Thomas at the end of that. She wasn't Laurie Strode. She was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes that movie so scary is even though she got away, they won.
Right.
She's
No,
destroyed. She's
I agree.
snapped. So I don't buy her as some Texas Ranger years later. And like I said, it's a rabid dog. Leatherface is a rabid dog. So can you really get revenge? If a bear kills your family, like the bear doesn't know who you are or anything. You're
Exactly.
in the wrong time.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't
Exactly.
make any damn sense, and it was so disrespectful. And they just brought her in there to kill her off. It was.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either because, to me, and we've seen this happen before. We saw it happen in the Star Wars sequels where, each movie they brought in, one of the OG and other than obviously Carrie Fisher, unfortunately passing away. But it's like, why bring in these characters just to kill them, and usually in a way that's just so unfulfilling, you know? And the whole thing with Sally, like, it was a couple good scenes that she had, but she wasn't even in the film for more than like 15 minutes total, and then she just gets killed. And
You
it's
can
like,
tell that's a money person decision because, like, somebody probably made a movie and they're like, well, bringing her back worked on Halloween, do that. But they didn't understand why it worked.
right, right. Yep, I agree.
Can I hit you with a hot take?
Sure.
All right, you sitting down? I fucking
I
love
hope
Texas
so.
Chainsaw 3D. That movie's amazing.
Oh, Texas Chainsaw 3D. Really?
I
Okay.
fucking love that movie. And I'm going to tell you why. So when I was a kid, like, I tend to sympathize with the monsters. If you guys watch my channel, I tend to sympathize with the monsters. I think just being a weird kid, that's how I got into horror. It's like, okay, I kind of have characters that feel more like I can, empathize with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Leatherface was always one of those ones where I'm like, he just had a shitty family. He could have been anybody anywhere else. And I've always felt bad for him. And I always thought with the right family, like if he got relocated, like how cool would it be to have like Leatherface as your cousin or your big brother? Like nobody would ever mess with you again. This is like 8-year-old me's logic here.
Right.
So this movie, one, it fulfilled that dream of like, what if Leatherface was in your family? Like, how badass are you gonna feel? Like, I love that. I think that's great. Also, this movie doesn't get enough credit for how much love and devotion that they put into it. They recreated that house exactly. That's amazing. They brought back Gunnar Hansen. They brought back Marilyn Burns. They brought back, Chop Top. They brought back a lot. Yeah, Bill Moseley. God, brain. And it's a cool story, and it's so cool because you're afraid for the girl, and then there's that twist, and you're in it with her. And a lot of people are like, but her boyfriend and her friend were garbage. Yeah, they had to be garbage because if you liked them, if you liked her boyfriend, you liked her friend, you were sad they were dead, you would not be on board with her suddenly becoming Team Sawyer.
True. That is true.
Her friend fucked her man. So she's like, you know what? The world has never done me any favors. The world has never done the Sawyers any favors. This is where I belong. I love those little details about her character, like her making the teeth art and stuff. I think that movie's great.
All right.
Some bad CGI in there. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece. It's not as good as the original, but I love that movie.
That is a horror hot take. Where now, and this was, and we didn't plan this. And by the way, you guys watching, this is totally unscripted, which is usually how I love to do live streams. But if you were to just give a sense of where that ranks in the franchise for you, where would it be? Would it be middle of the road or higher?
One's my favorite, then the remake from 2003, then 2, and yeah, then probably Texas Chainsaw.
Wow,
I love it.
Wow, all right,
it's up there pretty high.
That is pretty high, Monty. I will try to watch Bad Milo. I will. That is pretty high. All right. I can deal with that. These are horror hot takes. So hey,
some that I really like off the top of my head here, but I like it better than. I mean, my cousin wrote one of those movies, and I like it better than his movie. My cousin wrote the Leatherface prequel.
Ooh.
Which I thought was pretty good. I like it better than Leatherface, the one that came out in the 90s, 80s.
The third one?
I like it better than Next Generation. And the one I hate the most is the prequel remake. I don't like that one.
You mean the sequel to the remake, or?
It was like a prequel to
right. It took place before. Yeah.
It's an ugly movie. It's way too overdone with the sepia. They way overdid the gore, which is really not ever what a Texas Chainsaw Massacre really needs to be.
Right.
And I think it's got the worst final girl of all time. She is terrible. She watches her boyfriend and her friends get taken away. She sits in the grass. She waits for Rutger to come. She sends him in to get killed. And see, this is the difference between this and Next Generation. Because Next Generation, when Renee's over, was like, you sit the fuck down. I'm like, she's been through hell. All right, she earned that. She earned that. This girl, she's been hiding the whole fucking time. She is in no place to be talking to this family. Like, she has no idea what they're capable of. Like, I just want to smack her little face. They're all gonna die at the end. Like, I think she is the actual worst. Nothing against the actress. She's terrific in other stuff. I just don't like the character.
Right.
I am ranting up a storm.
Hey, Alex. Hey man, that's what we're doing. We're doing some hot takes here. Now here's a question. Stephen King adaptations that go under the radar. Well, we've talked about a few. Um, do we have any others for you, Gory?
That go under the radar. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're getting kind of a renaissance for a lot of B movies. I think a lot of people are coming around to Maximum Overdrive, which I think is great. I think most people recognize that Carrie is great. I
You
love
mean the
Sleepwalker.
remake
The
or the
remake,
original?
it's okay. The
Okay.
original. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of people recognize are terrific. I think Sleepwalkers is great. I love
Oh, there
Sleepwalkers.
you go.
It's
There
got that
you
great
go.
Enya song in it. That slaps. Some cool characters, some weird shit going on. It's got what's his butt from Charmed. Love him, Brian Krause. I love the
Nice.
whole vibe of that movie. It's ridiculous in places, but it's fun, and you still care about the characters. My boy, what's his name? The cat, Clovis. Oh,
Clovis.
Clovis is the BAMF. Clovis.
Don't
Yes.
mess with Clovis.
Yes, and I love when he's with the cop and he's like, "Yeah, get him, get the bad guy, get the bad." I love that part so much. Like I was like, Clovis, you need to do it for him. Like you could tell that they had like a lethal weapon thing going on. You know, Clovis was like the wild man, like the loose cannon, and the other guy was
Right?
like the Murtaugh. And without his Murtaugh, he had to go full crazy Gibson on these fucking cat people.
Right. Clovis. Oh God. Oh man.
I
What's
have
up,
a
Ben?
special spot in my heart for killer cat movies.
Yep. Wayne, Maniac, and the remake. All right. Nice, nice. Oh, here we go. Elm Street 5 is underrated. I think it's better than 4.
I agree.
So the Dream Child over the Dream Master.
I agree.
I think okay, I'll give my hot take on that.
All right, hit me.
I think that the Dream Child had some good ideas. Um and I do like it. I actually love all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The remake isn't really a favorite of mine, and neither is Freddy's Dead, but especially the first 5 and New Nightmare. I really enjoyed them. But the only thing I had with the Dream Child, I didn't really like the Freddy makeup. It just took me it took me out of it. And I know they were trying to do a different design. They wanted them to look more weathered and aged, and the hook nose type of thing, almost like witch like. But it
I'll
just
look
took.
at that again because I don't think I noticed. I don't think I've ever noticed.
Yeah, man. I was a huge Freddy
What do you
fan
mean
as a
witch
kid.
nose? Wait. What do you mean witch nose? No, I'm kidding.
I'm just
Oh wait,
being real. I'm just being real. Yeah,
actually,
but for
it's kind of like my
but
nose.
but not for Robert England, Gory. Come on, man. Or for
I'm
Freddy
messing
Krueger, I
with
should say.
you. I'm messing with you.
No, I know. But no, I mean the Dream Child is good, but I don't know, man. The Dream Master was very bombastic. They were taking the elements of 3 and they were just like running with it, which at the time as a kid I enjoyed. Now as an adult, I don't know. I kind of look at them at about the same level.
I
And
didn't really get into the characters in that one quite so much. I think what I
mm,
like most about 4 is that you've got that great roach death. I think that's terrific. It's got better kills than
yes,
5. I will say that.
yes,
But like
yes,
Alice, I didn't really get on board with the Alice train until the next one. Like especially in the beginning, like I remember being really sad when like her boyfriend died and stuff, and she's left and she's pregnant. And you're just like,
yeah,
you feel for this character. She's in a really shitty position. Whereas in the beginning of the 4, it wasn't clear who was going to be the main character. Like not to me anyway. Like when I first saw it, like I didn't
hmm
really feel like I knew that much about her because we still had characters from 3 in there, so that
right,
kind of made it a little confusing. Like, okay, well, who's going to stand out from this? Who's going to survive?
hmm
And
hmm
I think I really got on board with her character a lot, and I liked the mythology they added about Freddy. I think the kid's a little goofy, but I don't know. He's all
yeah.
right. He's Dr. Giggles. He's cool.
That's all right. Monty saying, "Love the Hidden, such an underrated
So
horror movie." I do
good.
too, man.
The
I do too,
death
and that's the other reason
character.
that I got upset with Jason Goes to Hell, because I was like, they're basically doing the Hidden, and I'm
I
not
love The
able,
Hidden so much. My mom introduced me to that one. Also, The Hidden 2 is actually really good as well. I highly
Yes, all
recommend if you
right.
guys don't watch Good Bad Flicks. He did a great video on The Hidden. Such a great movie. Kyle MacLachlan is phenomenal in that
Yes.
movie. It is so
hmm
good.
It is. It's very underrated. I remember when I saw it as a kid, I was just like, "What the hell is going on?" And I just loved it right from then.
It
I
jumps
mean,
right in too.
yeah, it starts right off when the dude goes into the bank and he's just walking around, and then all of a sudden, boom, he just unloads on people. He's killing people. And I'm like, and this is literally seconds into the movie. You know,
It's
he's
so
trying
good.
to,
It's like a body snatcher movie meets like a
yes,
Terminator movie almost, just because of how like
yes,
indestructible it is, and
yes,
it's so good.
it is. It is
Great
really, really
action,
good.
great horror, and I love the relationship between the two cops. You got that kind of like two cops who just don't get each other, but there's a good reason in this one. And I think
Exactly.
the ending's really, I don't know, kind of touches your heart.
Yeah, no, I loved it. It's a good one. Maximum Overdrive. Then watch the original, The Hitcher. Yeah, Maximum. It's so funny. People are talking about Maximum Overdrive, and
I've never
we are planning to
Oh boy,
hopefully do a watch
no.
along of Maximum Overdrive. That's the hope. That is the hope. I loved it as a kid, though.
I love Maximum Overdrive. It's back there too. You trust me, it's back there.
Yeah. Rutger Hauer and Blind Fury. That's right, Castor. Yes, yes.
Rutger Hauer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What?
Rutger Hauer, he was just so good in so much. Rest in peace to Rutger
I think
Hauer.
honestly my favorite role of his was Lady Hawk.
Oh, he was great in that. I love that movie.
That movie is so romantic. So
Yes. Yeah. See, we're seeing eye to eye on this. We're seeing eye to eye.
Michelle
Coriander's
Pfeiffer,
in the
what a
chat.
babe.
Woohoo! Stop hating on Jason Goes to Hell.
Hey, you wave your Jason Goes to Hell freak flag, all right?
That's
Don't let anyone
right.
stop you. Who cares if you don't like it?
I love it.
I love part 7. For the longest time, that was my favorite in the franchise. I fucking love that one. I'm not gonna let anyone tell me it's bad.
Right. Hey, I love part 7 too. You know, it's so funny because we were supposed to do our episode on part 7 this Sunday, and we had our Deborah Voorhees episode, and we had like I was saying a little bit earlier, we had this huge confusion with the time zones, so we had to cancel it. But we're going to talk about part 7 this Sunday, and we're so excited about it because I know Coriander loves part 7. I do too. I don't get that. Like, it does have some hate, and I'm like, it was such a good film. It had
It's
great
so good.
stunt
I
work.
really like that it is something different. And being a young
Yes.
girl, Friday, with the exception of like, Ginny and Alice in the beginning, kind of goes into like a Tommy Jarvis thing. And so we
Hmm.
didn't really have like a female character. And being a young girl, you're going to want to watch people like you. So I'm
Right.
like, oh, it's a girl. She's got powers. I want powers. I want to
Yeah.
fight Jason. This is cool. And it was like the
Right.
scariest Jason yet. He was just mean. The effects were
Yes.
so good.
The makeup effects too, man.
So
Like the
good.
way they made Kane look, like you could see his spine and his,
Yes.
and his rib cage.
And
It
they
was some
introduced us
great
to King
stuff.
Hodder.
Yeah.
And here's
Yep.
the funny thing about Jason. I recently just had a marathon of them. I have a marathon at least once a year.
Hmm.
Recently marathon them, and my opinion changes all the time.
Hmm.
For the longest time, the one I think I hated the most, just because it's kind of sleazy, was part 5. Especially as a kid, I was just kind of like, oh, it's kind of icky. But I watched it when my last marathon. I was laughing so hard at Ethel. I'm like, was this movie always so funny?
She was
And
great.
I love the guy who plays Demon. He's in Return of the Living Dead. He's in Scooby Doo.
Hmm.
He's in Leprechaun 4. I love that guy. I wish I could remember his name, but he's
Miguel
great. Like when
Nunez.
he's singing on the toilet, like that movie's fun. And that's great because I used to hate it, and it launched way up high in my ranking in the last marathon.
Yeah, no, I actually, when I was a kid, part 5 wasn't a favorite of mine because I just couldn't get over the fact that it was not Jason. But as I've gotten older, it's actually risen a lot higher in the rankings for me too. And when we were talking to Deborah Voorhees, she talked about some of the behind the scenes stuff, and she's talked about this, for years. But it just made me appreciate it even more, kind of like what you said. It's like people, when they put some effort into what they're doing, and it seems like the cast had some good chemistry and so forth, or at least some of them. And yeah, it's definitely risen up in my rankings.
You want some more
It really
trivia?
has. Sure.
So Violet, the girl who does the cool dance.
Yes.
Her mom is the mom of Kirsten
In
Nightmare
Dream Warriors.
on Elm Street Part. There you go.
Yeah, isn't that cool though?
I don't need to tell you stuff,
It's some stuff, but it's so funny because when we talk about the big 3, Halloween, Nightmare, and Friday, there is so much overlap.
Chucky in there. Chucky's my boy.
Now wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Okay, all right, let's back up. So a couple weeks ago, well, not a couple weeks ago, it might have been a month ago or so, we talked about our idea of the Mount Rushmore of horror villains. So there's only 4 spots, right? So in my opinion, it's just my opinion. You guys in the chat, you guys can let me know. With 3 of those spots, it should be pretty universal, especially if you're of a certain age. You know what I'm saying? You got Freddy, Michael, and Jason. So to me, when we did this episode for my brother Killian and Coriander, the question was, who's that 4th spot? Who gets that 4th spot on the Mount Rushmore? So you're saying live right now, it's got to be Chucky. Why.
You got 2 strong but silent on there. You need another wisecrack to hang out with Freddy, right? Also, I know a lot of people are going to say Ghostface. Ghostface is never the same person. So I don't think that one would work. And I think Leatherface, like I said, Leatherface isn't the real villain in Texas Chainsaw. You know, and when I watch a lot of these commentaries, I watch a lot of these behind the scenes, I watch a lot of stuff about movies. The number of movies that were inspired by Chucky character and those movies, I've heard that a lot more than I've heard Leatherface as a character inspiring other characters or other movies. Like watching I'm doing all this stuff from Leprechaun right now, and Chucky was one of the ones where he's like, okay, we can make something small scary. Like that character is extremely influential. I also, hot take here, I think it is the best franchise overall.
Child's Play?
I think Child's Play is the best franchise. And I'll tell you why.
Woo.
So Friday the 13th he came out of the gate trying to capitalize on Halloween. It came out of the gate to make money. Those movies are fun, but it is largely a soulless franchise. Not a lot of love went in there initially, especially when you get to like 3. It's so cheap, you know, but they know they just kill teenagers and stuff. And it's fine because I like the characters and I have a good time with it. But there's not a lot of soul in that franchise, especially in the beginning. Halloween, it has a great movie in the beginning and it loses its way very quickly because, again, the studios get too involved. The studios make the franchise go in these directions that don't make sense to the fans. I still enjoy the movies, but there's too much studio meddling. It's the same thing with Leatherface. The one franchise that has really kind of been protected from studio meddling, and it's because it did get sold off after the first one because of like studio issues and stuff, was Child's Play. Early on, it got sold and then Universal bought it, but a lot of people were bidding for Child's Play. And finally, Don Mancini and David Kirshner went with Universal because they wanted control over their story, the thing that they created. And Universal was like, yeah, we want it. Do what you want. And yeah, there have been parts here and there where they've given it notes and stuff. Sorry, my phone. Where they've given notes and stuff, but for the majority of it, Don Mancini has been in charge of that, and he and David Kirshner are incredibly passionate about every single one. Every single Child's Play movie, they put heart and soul into. Whether you like Pseudo Chucky or not, he worked his ass off on that. He was inspired to make something. It wasn't about making money. It was about telling a story. You know, you don't like Cult of Chucky, that's fine. He told a story that he wanted to tell. He wasn't trying to get your dollar. He just wanted you to hear his story. It's okay if you don't like it.
All right. That is a hot take. So we got Child's Play as the best horror franchise.
It's also the most innovative. It's tried a lot of different things. And for the most part, I think they've worked. It successfully moved from straight up horror to horror comedy. Now it's also one of the only ones outside of Evil Dead. I'm saying not horror franchise. I think overall the best horror franchise is Evil Dead. It's consistently great and everything. But slasher franchise, Chucky for sure. But yeah, to have movies, to have the show was phenomenal. It's done so many things that are unheard of. You know, it's incredible.
All right. Okay. That is a good hot take. I like that one. That might be one we'll have to revisit at some point. Texas Chainsaw 3D is my least favorite.
I actually have been making a whole video on why, because I know it's a hot take. So I have been making a whole video on why I do think the Chucky franchise is the best slasher franchise. I think the only ones that compare as far as consistency and quality are Scream, but unfortunately, even that one in the beginning, the studio kind of let them do what they wanted with Scream for the most part. And that movie made a shit ton of money. And then after that, Wes Craven talked about it a lot. Like they interfered so goddamn much. He said, even though I love Ford, he said it wasn't my movie by the end of it. That breaks my heart.
Yeah, there's truth to that.
You know, and that really breaks my heart. I think it's one of it ranks higher for me than Jason and Halloween as far as quality and consistency, because I do think he was able to get enough of his vision out there. But the studio, you know, they meddle the lights. The fucking Weinstein brothers, usually they're behind a lot of these bad studio decisions.
Right. But, oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah, and then Evil Dead, and again, I attribute it to Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. That is their baby. They will not let anybody fuck with their baby. And we have not had a bad one yet. Please say Evil Dead Rise is good.
I
We
know.
haven't had a
I'm
bad
wondering.
show. It's been phenomenal.
What's up, Gore? Gorophobe's in the chat. Yeah, no, Evil Dead has definitely had good consistency. I definitely agree with that.
I
There's
feel
no
like
doubt.
a lot of these franchises, it's like, okay, like Halloween, like John Carpenter had a baby. Him and Deborah Hill had a baby. And then after a while, they're like, but I just can't want to be tied down right now. I got things I want to do. What about the fog and stuff? And so eventually he leaves his baby at the hospital, and it gets shuffled around through the foster care system, and some of the parents are shitty, and you get Halloween 6. And some of them are good, and you get 2018. You're like, well, I'm glad you're in good hands now. You deserve good parents. But John Carpenter gave that baby up.
Yeah, he
Same
did.
thing with Friday. That baby, I think that baby started being left on someone's doorstep. I mean, that's why we have the legal battles and stuff, because
Oh my God,
it got passed around so much. But Chucky was birthed by David Kirshner and Don Mancini. They have never let that baby go. They've made some odd parenting decisions, I grant you, but they have raised that boy.
Yep. No, that's true.
And that's why, Scream has been so good too, because up until recently, and it still has Kevin Williamson's involvement, but Wes Craven never gave up that baby. He could have been like, fuck the studio, please just take the baby away. He did that with Freddy. But he never gave that baby up.
Yep, absolutely.
Is that analogy? I don't know.
No, it definitely makes total sense. And speaking of which, since you talked about the 2018 Halloween, another movie that people talk about a lot on both sides of the fence, Halloween Kills. What were your thoughts on Halloween Kills? Because there's some people that personally, myself, I loved the heck out of it. It was a great experience to see it in the theater. I've seen it a couple times since then, actually several times since then. But there's some people that truly hate it. What do you think of Halloween Kills?
Halloween Kills, as far as some of the chat said, the John Mancini's original idea for Child's Play was nothing like the finished film. It actually was quite a bit. Originally it had no voodoo stuff in it. It was like a Blood Brothers thing. It was a doll that would bleed, but Chucky is his. Tom Holland had some things involved in it, but yeah, I need to make that video because he's been very instrumental in Chucky. I love that scene in Sleepwalkers. Okay, Halloween Kills. So I love 2018. I don't know if that's a hot take, but that's in my top 3. I really like that one. I think what they did with Laurie Strode's character was really good. I really loved it. I mean, it's not perfect. It's got a few flaws, but I think overall, it was way better than I expected it to be. And you could tell they have so much love for this franchise, and I like that.
Yes.
And Halloween Kills, my biggest problem with it is the writing. The writing is bad. I was laughing in the theater every time they were like, Evil Dies Tonight. And then I started just cringing. And then I was like, okay, please don't say it again, please. The writing was fucking terrible. I mean, that's really sad. They also, I think, a couple places where they just didn't understand what tone they were doing. Like, I think Tommy Doyle's supposed to be a badass, but I don't know. I found him very cringe. He just... I would have liked it if they would have gotten one of the people who actually played Tommy Doyle to play him. I think that's part of it. I don't know. It just felt so out of place. And then, the guy who gets thrown out of the hospital, that's a very dramatic scene, but then they show his brain splayed everywhere. And it's like, sometimes you need to let the emotional weight of something speak and not just be about the gore. I will say Halloween Kills has some of the best kills in the franchise. It is probably the scariest Michael Myers has ever been. I love when Michael Myers, sometimes he's like a little kid. He's like he was almost like a little kid in there. Like when he's just, what happens if I put another knife in? I love that. I thought that was great. I love Big John and Little John. There's a lot of things I love about it, but I did not like it as much as 2018.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Are you excited for Ends?
Recommendation? Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah.
I am too. Care way too much about these movies for me to give up on them.
I agree. I mean, to me, that's one of the best things about it is that you can tell that they respect the franchise. They pay attention to the details. I mean, when I saw 2018, the fact that the mask looked so good, the care that they took in reconstructing the mask and aging it, the 40 years or whatever. I mean, that's one of the best looking masks since the original. I mean, Rob Zombie's was actually pretty good too, the first one. But, Yeah, they have a
Hot
lot of attention to
take.
detail. Go ahead.
I love Halloween too. Rob Zombie's.
Yeah,
I
you
think it's
do.
one of the top 4, maybe top 3.
In the
It's really,
franchise?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all
And
have our
it's funny
thoughts.
because it used to be my dead last. It used to be my dead last. And then I was having a Rob Zombie marathon recently. I was like revisiting them all. And I came to that one. I'm like, oh great. Because all I remembered was I remembered Loomis being really aggressive and stuff. I really hated it. But I watched it this time, and maybe it's because I was going into it with like lower expectations, but I was like, this isn't a Michael Myers movie. And I think that's why people hate it. It's not a Michael Myers movie. I don't like that he talks.
Right,
I think that stuff's pretty bad. It is not a good Michael Myers movie. It's a great Laurie Strode movie. That is her movie. It is about her psychological breakdown.
Yeah.
And it deals with so many cool themes, like nature versus nurture. Like, is she doomed to be crazy because her family's crazy? Can she be okay? And then you have all these people, and I think it's just such a cool character study. These 3 people, Loomis, Annie, and Laurie, have been through something horrible, unspeakable. It's something that you and I can't even wrap our heads around because we've never been through it. And I love how they all respond in different ways. Laurie is kind of having a mental breakdown, and that's what the movie is. It's her mental breakdown. We're primarily with her, whereas Annie is trying to get on with her life. Like, she's trying to do what I guess people would tell you to do. Just focus on what you can do today. She's taking care of everybody, even though she got beat up. She's, kind of becoming like the mom, and it's so sad, but that's how some people deal. And then I used to not like it, but Loomis, he is basically almost fictionalizing it. If he makes it about books and about sales and stuff, he doesn't have to deal with what happened to him because he was a victim too. And whenever somebody tries to ask him a real question, he shuts down. And he has these moments towards the end where you realize he has no fucking friends. Like, his publicist, that's the only person who will talk to him. And so some people don't handle things in a healthy way when they're dealing with PTSD, when they're dealing with a horrible event. And yeah, he's lashing out and he's doing some trial stuff. And I think he figures it out towards the end of the movie. He realizes what he needs to do. But I like that he was brave enough to not make all these characters super likable. They're complicated and they're all dealing with stuff in the way normal human beings deal with horrible events.
Right.
It's a great movie depicting mental illness, depicting PTSD. It's a great study of Laurie Strode. I don't know if it works super well in the Halloween franchise, but then neither does Part 3, and I love that one too. I don't know if it works super well as a Michael Myers movie. I think there's some interesting stuff there. There's some stuff I don't like, but I think it's a phenomenal Laurie Strode movie.
Well, the way I look at it is, I mean, it's super, it's low on my list because of almost pretty much what you just said, because of the fact that I don't, just like with Jason Goes to Hell not being a good Friday the 13th movie, in my opinion, I think the thing with Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, is that it didn't feel like a good Michael Myers movie, but it's a good slasher movie. It's a good horror movie on a lot of levels. I mean, they had some great scenes. When we did our review of it, we talked about a lot of the things that were good in it, but it was like one of these things where, and that's the problem with horror movies today, I think, is that when you're doing these remakes or these sequels, especially to legacy franchises, these directors, these artists, they're in a bad situation because you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you do something that is considered the same, people are going to say, well, we've already seen this 1,000 times before. But if you do something different, like Rob Zombie tried to do with Halloween 2, people are going to be like, oh, but it's not this. So it's really, really a challenge, but I think there were good things in Halloween 2. It just, for me, like you said, as a Michael Myers, like if he had done some different things with Michael in that movie, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because I think the first one he did was actually pretty good. I saw that in the theater with my brother. We were like, wow, that was pretty good, and we were really nervous going to see it.
I used to like that one a lot. I think the first half is pretty good, but then the second half is just a retread to Halloween. I'd rather just watch Halloween.
Yeah, it's a remake. Yeah.
I also don't like, he does this a lot. He does a lot of like shaky cam during action scenes and stuff. I'm like, it's a horror movie. I want to see this.
Yes, I said that too. I said to myself, you can't even see what's going on because the camera's shaking so much. What's up with that? Yeah, I agree. Who likes John Carpenter's lesser known films? Oh yes, of course. In the
I
Mouth of
already talked
Madness.
about Village of the Damned, and Prince of
Yes,
Darkness is
absolutely.
phenomenal. So is Mouth of Madness.
Prince of Darkness is such a great, underrated, and underappreciated horror
God.
movie. I love it so much. It has one of the longest opening credits of all time, and any movie is like 12 minutes long before you even start to get the credits. But I love Prince of Darkness so
That
much,
one
man.
too, it's like one of those ones where it's scary just as it is. It's got some gory stuff in it, but
Yes.
when you get into the themes and stuff of it and you start thinking about that, it gets scary on another level.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
existentially scary. Like, and it's such a weird combination of science and religion, two things we never really see merge in
Yes.
horror, and he does it so well. And see, that's what makes breaks my heart with some of these filmmakers I love. I love John Carpenter. He's such a passionate filmmaker, and I hate when I hear that he had a bad time making Big Trouble in Little China because the studios didn't let him do what he wanted to do. It's like, this man
Right.
is an artist. He's a genius. Just give him the money and leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
hate that they made him get sick of Halloween because they keep telling
Yep.
him what to do. He knows what he's doing. That's why the movie
Yeah.
was good.
Yep.
And so I like that with Prince of Darkness. He was like, fuck it. I don't care if I have less money. I want to tell my stories and I want to tell them the way I want to tell them.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like I said, there's some of his movies where I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of vampires. But,
Right.
A lot of the times when he does his own thing, when he's allowed to take risks, he does really great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think that, especially when you talk about someone like Carpenter, who, like you said, I mean, he's money. I mean, Wes Craven went through the same stuff with Scream, especially the third Scream. I was just talking about that with Steven on Craven Something Scary, and they didn't like the idea of having two killers, having Angelina as the second killer. The Weinsteins, they wanted to scrap that idea, and it's like, dude, you're talking to Wes Craven,
Yes.
one of the greatest directors ever, not even just horror, but just one of the greatest directors ever. He's literally changed horror. He's changed the
Multiple
game in
times.
horror 3 times: Last House on the Left, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream. And you're
Yeah.
gonna
He
sit there and tell
reinvented the
me,
genre. Trust him.
yeah, exactly. You're gonna tell me that you know better than Wes Craven? And it's just too bad that a lot of these legends like Craven or John Carpenter, they were like held together by all of these rules and people making decisions above their heads, and they didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
But
It's
I think it's such
frustrating.
a blessing that Mancini, yeah, the first one, he was a college kid. He didn't have, he was just the writer. He didn't have as much control over it as he wanted to with Child's Play, and he got pushed around a little bit. But when Universal bought it, that was a condition that he was involved, and Kirshner has fought for his involvement, and he gets more involved the more it goes on. And I think it's really cool. And I wish more franchises had that, trust in the creators.
Right. Yep, I agree.
And a lot
I
of
absolutely agree.
franchises, like after Seed of Chucky, they would have been like, well, you're definitely not directing the next one. But
Mm-hmm.
Universal was like, yeah, try it again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yep.
people will like the next one more.
Uh-oh. I don't like the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. Pew, pew, pew.
He got so upset with me because I get so passionate about movies. I mean, you can hear me. I get so worked up and get so excited. And I was watching the Rob Zombie movies, and so I kept coming up to him like, oh yeah, I was watching this one today and this. He's like, I don't want to hear about Rob Zombie right now. No. So I kept going around going, yeah. He was so not having it.
That is too funny, man. Oh my gosh.
The man puts up with a lot, guys. A lot.
Buster Rhymes for more horror movies. Thoughts on the Halloween movie he was in? Resurrection. No.
What was up with that period of horror? Like,
right?
there was
What
this
was
period
going
of horror
on?
where they got like musicians in guest
Yes.
spots in horror movies. Now, I will say I love LL Cool J and H2O. That was the first one I think I remember, and I thought he was great. But I've also seen him act before. The man's a legitimately good actor. I love LL Cool J. Buster Rhymes is fine. I mean, he has the best line in the movie. He's okay. The one that really bothers me is that the gal from Kelly Rowland, I did not like her in Freddy versus Jason just because her character is so disrespectful.
Right, yeah. She was annoying.
And I got annoyed too because during the dream, he takes off her nose. Her nose should be off when she wakes up.
Good point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a good point. Everyone is telling me Prince of Darkness is great. It really is. It really is. That I will recommend anyone, if you have time tonight, you should watch Prince of Darkness. It is such a good film, in my
Carpenter called
opinion.
that his Apocalypse trilogy, beginning with The Thing, Prince of
Hmm.
Darkness, and then Mouth of Madness. So it's a good
Yep.
good setup for your night if you're interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow. Yes, I love that one.
I love
Bill
that one, and
Pullman.
I also it's loosely based on a book, which I have read like back in the day. But that's also really fascinating, just like how real life like zombies were created and stuff. And the guy who wrote the book, I remember they heard about like people who were basically kind of like zombied out, and they couldn't figure it was like some chemical from some like fish. And
Hmm.
he was a botanist, so he was sent down there to investigate. And a lot of that stuff really did happen to him. It was really scary, you
Hmm.
know. And it's in Haiti where there's not a lot of protections in Haiti. Haiti is kind
Right.
of its own rules, so it's a scary situation to be in. And I think Wes Craven did a really good job of just turning it into a horror movie that people could enjoy but still be really
Hmm.
scared of. And I like what's his face? He was in
Bill
Independence
Pullman.
Day. He was good.
Bill
Bill Pullman.
Pullman. Hmm.
Yes.
He was good in it, man. We got some Busta Rhymes love in the chat. Who would have ever thought this would happen? Videodrome. I don't hate Busta
The
Rhymes.
only thing I hate about
Pamela
Busta
loves
Rhymes
him.
is this, because to me these characters have like a legacy. Like they deserve some reverence because it's like the I Am Legend thing, right?
Hmm.
Their
Hmm.
legend. Some of these people's legend existed before I was even born. I wasn't around when Michael Myers was created.
Right.
I respect that legacy. I may not like all of his movies, but I respect Michael Myers. And you
Hmm.
should too. And the part that pisses me off with Buster Rhymes is when he's like, "Why are you Michael? I'm Michael." And he's treating him like so
Yeah,
disrespectfully.
he
And the fact
is.
that I guess I'm more annoyed that Michael Myers is putting up with it, because I think Michael should have just killed
Right?
him right then and there. I'm like, why
Oh
are you
my
putting up with this?
God.
You're Michael fucking Myers.
Right, right,
I
right.
actually don't mind the trick or treat motherfucker. I think that's kind of funny. But
It
the
is.
part that pisses me off is when he's like, in his face, and it's like, Michael, kill him.
Well, listen, and we talked about this one too, because we went through the whole Halloween franchise. To me, the problem I had with Busta Rhymes was the fact that, like you said, he was just punking Michael out. And it's like Michael
Yeah.
Myers wouldn't just sit there like that. He would have killed him so quick, it would have been funny, number one. And
Yeah.
number two, first of all, Busta Rhymes is using some whack ass karate kicks that just looked
What
super
was that?
bad. I was like, are you serious? It's like they could have come up with a much better way, to have him, overcome Michael Myers. So that's the issues I had with it. Other than that, Buster was Buster. I mean, the movie itself had way more problems than Buster Rhymes
The
himself.
movie sucks balls. If I didn't hate the
Yes.
goddamn movie so much, I probably would be angrier. But he is the most entertaining part of the movie.
He's the one that you remember the most,
At least he makes
easily.
it fun in places. I really
That's
hate
right.
that movie.
Yep. Yeah, that's not my favorite either, man. Wayne saying the
Another one, there's a
picture.
couple more I thought of too. Another one I hate, even though I love Chucky so much, I hate Redman in Seed of Chucky. I am just like, why are you in this movie? It really makes me angry too, because originally the person they had in mind for that role, which makes more sense, was Quentin Tarantino. That would have made
Yeah.
so much more sense if he's making a movie with. Why is Redman making a movie? You don't make movies. You're Redman.
Right?
You do music.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't like it at all. Redman, get out of my Chucky movie.
Right? No, I agree with that.
And but there are a couple that work. I like Ice-T in Leprechaun in the Hood.
Ice-T is good in just about everything for me because I'm
So
just a
good.
fan
He's
of him.
Tank Girl too. He's so good.
Yeah, I'm just a fan
I
of
mean,
his.
again,
So
he's a legitimate actor. I mean, he's in
yes.
Surviving the Game. He's a
Mhm.
legitimate actor outside of music. Same
Right.
thing with LL Cool J. He's proven that he can act.
Right.
We need to take somebody like Kelly Rowland who doesn't act and throw her into something. Like, can't we get Beyonce? Get a better Destiny's Child up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck was this
Right.
Kelly Rowland shit? Sorry, I'm being a dick. I'm so sorry if you guys are Destiny's Child fans. Nothing against her as a person. I'm sure she's lovely.
Right.
Like character.
I didn't like her character either. And Robin, yes, Season of the Witch is awesome. It is. But I will admit, and I've told this story before, when I was a kid, I hated it. I absolutely hated the hell out of Season of the Witch because I didn't understand. I was like, well, where's Michael Myers? And that really messed with me as a kid. And it took years. It was like, I don't even know how many years later when I was a young adult and I watched it. I was like, holy shit, this is a good movie. and now it's one of my favorites.
I never watched it as a kid. We watched some of them on. I didn't get actually into Halloween until way later. Anyway, my mom she's not into slashers, but she does like Halloween. She did get me Halloween, like the Blockbuster edition. We watched it. But I was like quite a bit older, but I never bothered watching 3 because I heard Michael's not in it. So I'm like, well, I don't need to watch it then, right? And everyone told me it was garbage. So I never watched it. And then I was an adult, and Danny and I, were married, and he's like, "You've never seen it?" I'm like, "No, I heard it's garbage." But he made me watch it. I'm like, "That's all right. It's pretty good." Now I really like it.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Sorry, Videodrome, Destiny's Child, nothing against them. Great music, not a great character in it's just the character. Just the character. It would even be great in a different movie.
Right?
Oh yeah, I hated the slur she was slinging at Freddy.
I know.
I hated that.
I know. I sat there and I said, "What does that have to do with anything, man?" It just seems so.
I didn't like that.
Cringeworthy. Season of the Witch is a good movie, but doesn't fit in the Halloween franchise.
It's kind of like in wrestling. They have like the face. The face and the heel are trying to get different kinds of like pop, and then your heel needs to get some heat. But a face only works when you can root for them, and when they're doing gross stuff like saying horrible slurs or they're being really just like snobby like that. It's really hard to. She wasn't a good protagonist, like a good face, as in wrestling. I'm not making any sense. I'm so sorry.
No. That totally makes sense because you just didn't like her, and it was like,
so you wanted her to die, which I don't think you were supposed to.
Right. Absolutely. Now, here's another question. These are a couple questions, and I've asked this to a couple of people, and
I haven't even gotten to my biggest hot take yet, but I want to hear your question.
Okay, you've got a bigger hot take. Okay, let me ask you this. All right. Well, I thought to me, the one of your biggest hot takes so far was that Child's Play is the #1 horror franchise. That was for me.
I'm gonna make a whole video about that because I have a lot to say about that.
When are you planning to
I script a lot of my stuff out. Sometimes I just do ones but that way I make sure I have everything I want to say. Because I do include a lot of like research and stuff, and I want to make sure it's all correct. But that one's going to be really long. I have written most of that script. I've got about it's going to be long. It's like 7 pages. But basically, what it covers is why I think it's the most innovative and passion-driven franchise, and that for that argument to be made, I go into the history of it, like when it how it reacted to films that were not successful, and how it continues to thrive. So it's going to be a long one, but I have written a lot of the script. I need to get this Leprechaun one done because that's time sensitive.
Nice. Okay. Now here's my question. We touched upon the new Halloween movies. A lot of people on both sides of the fence for Halloween Kills. Halloween Ends is coming up. Here's a question I've been asking a lot of people. Will Michael Audrey Myers die?
Michael Audrey Myers, I love it.
Will he die? Will he die?
Well, I'm going to bring you back to I Am Legend. He can't die. Even if he died in the movie, the people of Haddonfield would never recover. I think this movie, the script is called Cave Dweller.
Yes.
And I think we're going to find out that Michael has been living in like a cave this whole time. But I think they talked about how they're going to address the pandemic. And I think Halloween, trick-or-treating and stuff has been canceled like it has, was canceled for a lot of cities. And I think what's going to draw him out of hiding is that kids are allowed to trick-or-treat this year. Halloween's on, and I think that's going to try to kind of lure him out. That's just my take on it. But I think it's more than I think they're going to use the pandemic as like this way of exploring how the people in Haddonfield are afraid to go out at night. He owns them. He doesn't have to be there to ruin their lives. They're afraid to go out of their homes. They're afraid to trust their children to leave the house. These people are in a way are also cave dwellers because they're locked in their homes. Part of it's the pandemic, but a lot of it is the fear that he's instilled in this town. So yeah, you can kill Michael, but you can't. You can't. They will always be afraid. They will always have this fear of Michael Myers looming over them. The only way to truly kill him is to forget about him. I think the movie will physically kill him, but they usually have some kind of hint that he could be alive. They usually leave an opening. They never just like explode his head.
Right.
Which, by the way, guys, if you're in a horror movie situation, just take it from me. Make paste. Do not stop until it's just like a puddle. Like, no. Like, don't even stop at shooting him in the head. Make paste. Then you're done. And they're not going to make paste. They might kill him. They might electrocute him. They might light him on fire, but he'll come back. He always comes back.
Yeah.
They also kind of implied in Halloween Kills that every time he gets kind of beat up, he actually gets stronger.
Right. Yeah.
Or the more he kills, he gets stronger. They implied something kind of supernatural about him. So I don't
one thing I liked about Kills, there's two things. One is that whole idea of trying to bring a little bit more of that whole mythology, to Michael Myers. Like when Laurie was saying that, the more he kills, the more he ascends beyond just a man and stuff like that. And plus, of course, the town of Haddonfield, they really showed how his presence has really infected them. That evil has infected them because obviously they turned into vigilantes and stuff like that. So I think with Ends, it's going to be pretty interesting where they go with it. And I think a lot of what you said is some of the things I've thought about too, as far as how his legend, it just grows to the point where he doesn't even have to do anything. He's just a part of them.
My other theory for that movie, I know we're going off topic a little bit. Other theory for the movie is Laurie her life has been stolen by Michael. Again, it's that legend thing. It's been stolen by Michael, and she found out in this last movie that he never gave a shit about her. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think that and her daughter dying is going to be enough for her to be like, you know what, he doesn't get any more. He doesn't get any more of my life. She looks put together in these pictures we're seeing. And I think he is trying to do for Allison what she couldn't do for Karen. She's trying to raise her the way Karen wanted her raised. Trying to just be nice and normal and no more fucking Michael Myers. But I think Allison, she's wearing all black in these pictures and stuff. I don't think she's where Laurie needs to be. This man killed her parents. He killed her boyfriend. She wants revenge. And I think Laurie's going to be like, no, it's not worth it. He is not worth losing yourself over. He's taking too much from you. Focus on yourself. But I think Allison's going to get in there. Like they talk about comparing this to Christine. And I think she's going to be a little obsessed. And I think Laurie's going to be afraid of losing her to this obsession with revenge. And I think in trying to pull her back, she will end up dying. I also saw when Jamie Lee Curtis, when she was leaving the set, they walked by a sign that said leaving Haddonfield. I think that's going to be the last thing we see in this movie. I think finally, after losing her grandmother, after this final fight with Michael where she thinks he's dead, I think she is going to make the decision, I'm leaving Haddonfield.
It could be, and I agree with you. I actually have a video that I'm working on too, and I talked about this with a couple of my other buddies like Steven and those guys in the Lethal Collective. My feeling is that same type of idea is that I think Laurie and Allison are going to totally crisscross from the way they were in 2018. Like, Allison is going to be the one obsessed with Michael, and I think Laurie, and I think that's also why the 4-year time gap is going to be, number one, important, but it's also going to make sense that after the 4 years that Laurie is going to have a lot of healing from all of this that she's gone through. And she's going to realize that she does have to let go of the boogeyman. Now, obviously at the end of the movie, she's going to have to, there's going to be the confrontation because you got to have that in this final movie. But I think for a big part of the film, we're going to see her probably, and I don't mean the same way, but we're going to see some of the sense of the way she was in the original movie, a more optimistic person, a more healed person. She might have a relationship with Frank and so forth. And I think that it's going to be an interesting thing. Plus it makes sense because you're going to give Jamie Lee Curtis in probably her final, performance as Laurie Strode, you're going to give her a chance to do some different things with the character. You're going to give her more leeway to use her acting. And I think that would, for me anyways, that would be a great way to have her in Halloween Ends.
They released one official promo photo, and I think there's a lot in that photo if you really look at it. One of them, I've heard some people say that it looks like she's wearing a wedding ring. She's wearing it on the wrong hand. I do not think she's married. She might be in a relationship with the sheriff guy, but she is not married. That is her daughter's ring that she is wearing as a reminder to do better by Allison than she did by Karen. So, she doesn't lose her daughter. Also, there's a drink in front of them, but it's not in front of Laurie, and the lipstick color matches Allison's, not Laurie's. I think she's going to be sober, and I think Allison's going to be kind of heading on that same path that Laurie was on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
My theories. I'm probably wrong. I don't know. I think it's fun to talk about it.
I think it's a great theory. That's exactly what I've been thinking too. I,
I
I
love this
really, really
franchise,
do.
but look how excited we are, like talking about this. I mean,
Right?
they're doing something good, whether you like that last movie or not. They're doing something good when it leaves you talking.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
Halloween Kills wasn't as good to me as 2018. I still thought it was good. I recommend it. I had a good
Hmm.
time seeing it, but that movie got
Yeah.
me talking,
Right.
and I'm not
And
going to miss Halloween Ends. No way in
and
hell.
it's a 50-year-old franchise with 12 movies. The fact that you could even still enjoy them, and you got people like the filmmakers, David Gordon Green, these folks that give so much attention to detail and care about it. That in and of itself is a victory, a huge
It's
victory
an
because
undertaking. All those fans,
yes, yes,
that's
yes,
hard.
absolutely,
Even
absolutely.
Scream, I wasn't super wowed by it, but I know they tried their damnedest, and
Right.
that's hard to please everybody because there's so many people who want so many different things, and
Hmm.
that's what Danny said there in the chat. And we talked about this yesterday. I think that would be so cool if Jamie, Laurie's daughter, played by Danielle Harris, shows up at the funeral
That
Karen, her
that
sister.
would be cool.
Like
Yeah,
if she's estranged or something, or maybe Laurie had to give her up or something.
that would
To
be cool.
just be great to see Danielle Harris, even in some way.
Right, right. Halloween is a hateful time. Now, what's your biggest let's as we start to end up here, what's your
I
biggest
don't want everyone to
hot take?
hate me. It's the one that people are gonna hate the most.
That's okay. That's what we're here for is to give
Well,
these
you
opinions that are
start. What's
interesting.
what's a movie that you hate that everybody likes? That's harder. It's easy to say that you like something when everyone hates it, because then it's like you're seeing something good and something that people don't appreciate. I hate
Oh,
being the person. I hate being the person who hates something that everybody loves. I don't want to ruin everyone's parade. I'm happy they're having a good time. I just wish I could be part of the party. It's like I want to have fun with it too. I'm just not. It
okay.
sucks. I
Well,
feel left out. I hate it.
all right. Well, see, now I didn't really think I didn't think of a huge one that way. My biggest one the other way, and then I'll try to answer it the way that you asked me. One of the movies that I really enjoyed that I know a lot of people don't, and I realize it's not a good movie. It is nowhere near as good as the original, but I actually enjoy The Exorcist too. I don't know why. I saw it as a kid, and it was just one of those movies that I watched, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I saw the original after that, and that scared the shit out of me.
Oh, that movie scared me so bad.
And the
Some
original is
movies you
still one
gotta
of my
take
favorites of
out
all
of the
time.
franchise. You gotta take it out of that franchise and just appreciate it on its own. Like I know a lot of people don't like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but for me, I just kind of take it out of the franchise, like how I take out Season of the Witch. I like Exorcist 2 as well, but I don't really think of
Ooh,
it so much as an Exorcist sequel. I just see it as its own thing,
right,
the heretic,
right, yeah.
heretic, or however you want to say it.
And there's Monty is like, no, I know
And you know what I
Monty.
really love? I love Exorcist 3. I think that movie is phenomenal.
Exorcist 3 is absolute winning. Absolute winning. George C.
So
Scott was
good.
amazing in it. I love Exorcist 3 so much. I really do. Very, very cool. All right. So now what's this one that you hate that everybody loves? I'm waiting to hear
You
this.
guys are gonna hate me. I hate The Conjuring.
What?
I know.
No.
I hate it. I
You
hate it.
do? You actually
I
hate it.
truly hate this movie, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Oh,
One,
wow.
I, I just as a lot of times movies like I may not like stuff about them, but if the
Hmm.
movie works, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I don't like Insidious either, but there are some interesting ideas there, and there's some parts of it where we're like, okay, I can get why people are scared of this. I don't think The Conjuring's scary. I think it's a bunch
Hmm.
of cheap jump scares. It's very popcorn horror. I don't know why people have got it on this pedestal because I just think it's cheap. I
Wow.
hate the portrayal of the Warrens. The Warrens were opportunistic. They were not good people. They did. I mean, if you look into them, like I did a real versus real on Annabelle, which taps into some of that.
Hmm.
Like there's a reason they haven't done the Warrens investigation into the Amityville house, because they've created these fictional characters, and I like these fictional characters, kinda.
Hmm.
Um, but the other thing I really hate about it is the most witchest fucking movie, and I say that a lot as kind of a joke, but pagan people, we are real people. We're not
Hmm.
just people in your Wizard of Oz movie stuff. We're people who actually live our lives. And I don't care if your villain is a witch in a movie, but treat
Mm-hmm.
him or her like a person. What is their motivation? The
Mm-hmm.
trouble with Conjuring, well, she killed kids because she's a witch. Like, that's not enough. It's very much it feels almost like Christian propaganda. It feels almost like something that's trying to like incite a mob over something, because like she has no character. This Bathsheba has
Right.
no character. She's just evil for the sake of being evil. It's the most uninteresting villain ever. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
really Tomlin is good in it. I think there's some good performances in it, but I hate the portrayal of the Warrens. I think their conflict with just the Christians versus the bad pagan is horribly uninteresting. It's also
Mm-hmm.
really offensive to pagan people. She is not treated as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that really upsets me. They do it again in the last one. I thought they were going to go at least give her a character. I don't care if the bad guy is a witch, but make her a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's just bad because she's a witch. That is so fucking offensive.
Mm.
I hate that. And they're good because they're Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do better than this.
Okay.
So I
All
know,
right.
hot take, you guys all hate me, but I hate those movies.
No, nobody hates you. See, that's the thing about it though, especially with horror movies, is perceptions, they can be so varied, and for a lot of different reasons. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, you're not the first person I've heard that has said that they don't like The Conjuring. I personally do, but with your explanation of it, I can totally understand where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes people, and it is what it is, but sometimes people will say, well, I like something or I hate something just because, and they don't really have any reasoning behind it. So for me, it's like I want to understand where you're coming from, but you're not telling me why.
It's
But at
also,
least you're giving a reason why.
I feel like the movie's also just really irresponsible because, like I said, there are pagan people. And being somebody who's been pagan since I was 16, I've been spit on. I've been told I'm going to hell. I've had horrible things said to me. And I think I'm a pretty nice person. Just because I
Hmm.
have a different belief system than you doesn't mean that you have the right to get ugly with me. And I'm
Right.
not saying it's just
True.
Christian people. I've met many lovely Christian people. I'm a
Hmm.
very live and let live kind of gal. But, prejudice against pagan people is a very real thing. Prejudice against people who are, Wiccan or Satanists or
Right.
ancestry, whatever. We get a lot of shit. There was a guy who just went viral because in his church, he wants to expose like 6 people who are witches. So this isn't something like people like to say, well, oh, that was so long ago. You're being so ridiculous. The Salem witch trials and the burning times were so long ago. And so they make jokes about like the burning times and stuff in movies. But one, I don't think it's ever funny that somebody was like killed horribly. I just don't think it's funny. Like, I
Right.
don't need to see Disney movies making jokes about people being burned at the stake. Like, how is that funny in any context?
Hmm.
Like you
I
wouldn't do
agree.
that with the Holocaust. That happened a long time ago too, but people recognize that that was a horrible, ugly time.
Hmm.
Why is that
Yep.
being made fun of in so many children's movies? It's gross.
Hmm.
It upsets me. It like deeply upsets me.
Yeah, I
And
understand that.
this movie, I feel like it's just in the way it portrays paganism and the way it portrays them is basically inhuman.
Hmm.
Is irresponsible, because then you
Yeah.
have people who are just living their lives and they're just pagan, and people's connection to that is, oh, I saw The Conjuring.
Right. Yeah.
That's what people do when they try to instate hate. They try to inhumanize somebody. That's what happened with the Holocaust. That's what happened with the
Hmm.
civil rights movement. That's what happened in any time when there's people who have been hated on unfairly. They basically say, well, it's okay because they're not human.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you have movies like this that say, well, it's okay that the Warrens are doing this because she's not human, I think
Right.
that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah. No, I look, that is a great explanation. That's like one of the best explanations that I've ever heard for someone when they talk about not liking something. And like I said, I've heard, some people say that they don't like The Conjuring, as a quote unquote horror hot take or whatever. But I totally get what you mean. I totally get it. I appreciate you explaining that. That was a big one.
If
You
you
were
guys
right.
love it, I totally I'm happy that you love it. I wish I could enjoy it the way you do because I love Lily Tomlin. I think there are some good things about it. I don't
Hmm.
ever hate, and I usually can see something good in it. It's just for me, especially being a pagan person, I don't honestly feel kind of attacked watching that movie.
Hmm. Understandable. Definitely. No, I appreciate you going through and explaining that. That was the best one. That was the best one, no
Well,
doubt.
thank you for hearing me and not just getting like upset.
No, of course not. I mean,
I
like
know
I
people
said,
love those movies, and so I hate to be the person who doesn't like something because it
yeah.
sucks.
But I mean, like I said, that's perfectly fine. And I think Eric was saying it earlier. People like what they like, or they dislike what they dislike, and it could be for a lot of different reasons. It could be very personal reasons. It could be for reasons that are based upon nostalgia or childhood memories or family or whatever. So it's perfectly fine. You got to be your
And it also
truth.
like hero it basically makes heroes out of the Warrens who've not only just done a lot of taking advantage of people were in horrible situations, but they've done a lot of that. Like, we're the good Christians. Anybody who believes anything that's not is evil. They've propagated a lot of that. And I think making them heroes in the movie is kind of gross.
Mm,
I
I
like those
understand that.
characters, but that is not the real people. The real people were
Hmm.
not good people. Anyway,
I hear
I'm
you.
glad you
I
guys
hear
love
you.
them. Somebody in what there was something in the chat. The Aussies, James Wan. I love *Malignant*. That was my favorite movie of the last year. So James Wan, I may not like *The Conjuring*. I love you. And Lee Winnell, he is super fucking adorable in *Saw*, and I love a whole bunch of stuff he does, like that one with the guy who has the thing in his head, and it's
Upgrade.
Upgrade. Yes.
Yes.
So, and that's
Yes.
the thing. I never like, unless it's somebody really gross, like the Jeepers Creepers guy. I
Right.
never am like, well, I didn't like The Conjuring, so I hate James Wan. Fuck
Hmm.
no,
Right. Right.
no. I don't
Yep.
expect him to get my. He didn't make the movie for him, and a lot of people love it. I'm glad he made so many people happy, and he made so many people scared. I just wish I could be part of the party because I want
Yep.
to be. I want to be a fan.
No, I
I
get it.
like him. I like a lot of what he does. I like Dead
Hmm.
Silence. I just don't like that movie.
Dead Silence is a great movie. So underrated. Not many people talk about that. That's such a good movie. A very, very cool
But
one.
it is scary when you look at a lot of movies in the past. Like, unfortunately, I think horror does a lot of good stuff, but sometimes horror movies have been used to demonize certain sects of people.
Hmm.
Like it's something I just don't really like, and I think it's something that we still see. We still see it pretty prominently with pagans. I even think to a degree it does that with little people, and those things
Mm.
kind of rub me the wrong way.
Yeah. Yep. Understandable.
And if
Totally.
anyone's watched like
Absolutely.
the documentary Horror Noir, they go into a lot about how it's dealt with, like how people of different races were treated. Like,
Yep.
it sucks because I love horror movies, but sometimes horror movies have been used for some stuff that's just not great.
Yeah. No, very true. And that's a great mention too with horror noir.
That was
Absolutely.
a brilliant documentary. But then,
It
that's
was.
what I love about that documentary, because you watch some of that and you're just like, oh, it sucks that horror was used to dehumanize so many people. But
Yep.
then you see people like getting so jazzed with the first time that they saw like Night of the Living Dead or something. And like,
Hmm.
that's really exciting. And I'm really glad, because
Yep.
people want to be seen. They want to be able to be represented. They want to, and that's why I get super excited when I do see a pagan character who like it's just a normal pagan. Like, they don't have
Right.
fucking force lightning and shit. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Most
Right.
of us are just normal fucking people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Very
sure we
cool.
have our share of assholes. Everyone does.
Just like everyone else, and
Exactly.
it doesn't matter, where you come from, who you are, what you believe in, the color of your skin or your sex or whatever. Everyone has that opportunity to be a good person or a not so good person. And that's what it's all about. I totally agree. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, I say this
Um,
to a lot of people, and they're like, well, it wouldn't make a very good movie. But like, I just want to see a TV show. It doesn't even have to be horror, where there's just a pagan character. They just happen to be pagan. And it's
mhm.
not what the show's about. I think that would be really good to show people like it's just a normal thing.
Mhm. That would
They
be
don't have
cool.
because like back in the day when like it was a big deal when like Willow became gay on Buffy. Willow was,
Mhm.
came out as gay on Buffy, and
Mhm.
a lot of these shows had these big specials. Like, it was such a big deal, and then the whole thing had to be wrapped around that, and then you couldn't just accept that there are just people who are gay. It's just a normal thing. Like, just
Right.
deal with it.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be sensational. I think when we started having shows where like just one of the characters happens to be gay and it's not a big deal, like that's when people were started to kind of people who maybe were not open to it were accepting that like that's just part of the normal reality.
Mhm.
I would like to get to that place with paganism and like other people who are poorly represented, like little people.
Yeah, absolutely. That
I'm
would be
way
cool.
like soapboxy. I am so sorry.
No. But that's a good point, and I think that it's really important to say because as fans of horror, I mean, we're all like big horror fans. Some of us have been horror fans since we were kids, and these are types of things that we hope that at some point we'll get to. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have been better as time has gone on with horror, but there's some things that have not, and some things have stayed the same for decades. And it's like, we want that representation. Like you said, you want to have someone, whether it's a movie or a show, and if they're a pagan, they're just a person, and there's nothing, it's not like they're highlighted as the
Final Girl,
person,
which we did
huh?
get in The Craft, and The Craft is lovely.
Yes, I love
But
that
I mean,
movie.
and I'm
Yes.
happy that I've had some movies like that. Like my best friend, her husband and her son are both little people, and I'm like, I've never really seen just a little person get to be like the good guy in a horror movie. They're always some kind of creature, and
Right.
And I was like, I want you to have that.
Yep.
Everyone deserves
Absolutely.
to have that.
Yep. No, I
But
agree.
I mean,
That would be
and
cool.
they got Game of Thrones, and they got a great little person on there. So
Oh
progression is good.
man. Yeah. Tyrion Lannister.
Yes, right. And it's a great character. So
He is. He's easily my favorite character in Game of Thrones. Like easily. Very, very cool character. I love Peter Dinklage. He's such a good actor too. Like he's the type of actor and when he talks, you're just drawn into everything he does.
and he has a whole stance. Like he said, and I respect it. He said pretty early on in his career, I'm not going to play a leprechaun. I'm not going to play an elf. I'm not doing any of that shit. I am
Yeah.
a good actor. Give me
Right.
good roles.
Yep.
And I really respect him. But I still also like love and respect Warwick Davis, who's played the leprechaun. He loves playing those. He took that role because he wanted to play a villain because he was always like
Right.
a good guy. And so I don't think there's any shame in that. I just wish we had, you know, more opportunities for them to play the hero as well.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
And
Absolutely.
that Warwick Davis is a really sad story. He and his wife both have different kinds of dwarfism, and his first child inherited both. And so his lungs were underdeveloped, and he lived 9 days, and he was dealing with the loss of a newborn baby. He hadn't worked in like 8 months. He wasn't sure if he wanted to act. And that's when he got the Leprechaun script. And he's like, I've never played a villain. It would be so good for me and my wife to get out of England and get a change of scenery. And so in a lot of ways, that movie kind of saved him when he needed it.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
no shame against movies that have like villainous witches or villainous little people or whatever. Just,
Right.
give me good characters and I'm happy.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, sometimes movies can do so much positive things, for people. And that's something that we don't think a lot about. When we were talking to Deborah Voorhees the other day, she talked about how there was this child who was dying of cancer that was a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise and Nightmare on Elm Street and had asked if he could ever meet her and Robert Englund. And him and his family talked about how these movies were such a joy for the little boy. I forgot how old he was, but a little boy. And she just said she couldn't. It cemented the idea in her mind that these movies do mean a lot to certain individuals, and what a responsibility that is, and what a blessing it can be. And I think that's awesome. That's the good side of it. You know what I
There's
mean?
something unifying about horror because I think, it's not a mainstream kind of thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think there are certain movies that become mainstream and are like universally by everybody. But there's a lot of horror movies where it's just like they're just kind of an us thing. And that's why I think whenever I meet a horror fan, I'm just like, you share my weird. We're now best friends. Because we're both most horror fans understand liking something that most people don't like. They understand being a little weird, and it's just, I don't know. It's something about watching a horror movie. You kind of feel like you're in a safe place, if that
I get
makes
it. Yep.
sense. Even though
Yep.
it's a scary movie, it's like these are movies that get you because you're a little weird, and the movie's a little weird.
I know exactly what you mean.
I mean,
Absolutely.
like for me, when I was a kid, I didn't have a whole lot of friends or anything. I was kind of an awkward kid. I moved here from England. I got bullied horribly for my accent and stuff, and I remember having no friends and watching Monster Vision on the weekends, and like he'd have letters and stuff from people from all over the country and stuff. And I was like, I may be sitting here alone, but there's people all over the country who are watching this with me. And it kind of gave me a sense of solidarity. And I love that now with Last Drive-In, I have that sense of solidarity with Twitter, and I have the horror community, and I get to connect with all these amazing people like yourself. And so, yeah, you feel like you have like this kind of family.
Yeah, no, it's true. Trust me. And you know, with YouTube in and of itself, when I started doing YouTube, it was because of the pandemic, and I had extra time on my hand, and I loved, you know, watching YouTube and watching especially horror themed YouTubers and so forth. But I would have never thought that the community itself would have been so cool, you know what I'm saying? So open-minded and friendly. And it totally blew me away. It literally, I mean, at least for me personally, it literally helped to shine some light during, especially the beginning of the pandemic when there was a lot of lockdown and stuff like that. It really helped me out through that time, you know? And I would have never thought. I never would have thought that it would have done that. So it was really cool. It was a real blessing. So yeah. All right. Well,
We've been
hey,
on a journey, my friend.
we went all over the place, but I know I really like that because, you know, when we talked about doing this and we talked about, I remember you asked me, you know, do we want to have, you know, a certain, you know, roadmap, or do we want to be just unscripted? I said, let's just do unscripted, see where we go with it. Because I think that you can go into some really interesting places. And for viewers, the way I always look at it is, how would I feel if I was watching the episode? And to me, when you can talk about so many different things, especially very personal things like your viewpoint on The Conjuring, I think it's so interesting, you know, for viewers to be able to hear that type of stuff, you know. So thank you so much for, you know, being open-minded to doing it like this, and obviously spending time here. And you know, it's really appreciated. Like I told you before, I'm like, I'm so excited you're going to be able to do this. This is awesome. Thank you so
I
much.
definitely love telling people about movies that I love that other people don't like more, though. So yeah, definitely I want my biggest takeaway from this is that y'all need to see Uninvited.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
I think it's just for me, I like defending the movies that nobody loves.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I said, with my buddies like Monty and Eric and those guys, you know, I talk about Exorcist too, and you know, The Lawnmower Man, Sleepwalkers, and stuff like that. Those are movies that I like them.
They become part of you. They become like, you know, the movie itself becomes like that weird kid at school that nobody will talk to, and it's like, well, I'm gonna have lunch with them, and then you're like, dude, this kid's rad. Everybody come sit at this table.
Right.
You know, and that I love that. It's so great. And then it's even better when you do love something like that, and then you find somebody else who also feels the same way. You're just like, amazing.
Right. I absolutely agree.
Like an instant bond.
That's right. No, it is a bond, because you're like, oh wow, you feel the same way. You get what I'm talking about. That's great.
I
I'm
loved
not alone.
when I was a kid, I loved like Elvira and stuff, but their shtick was making fun of the movies, and so that was the only part that I had a hard time with, because I'm like, I kind of love this movie though, you know, and I'd be a little embarrassed. And then Joe Bob came along, and I'm like, no, he actually loves these movies. He loves Friday the 13th too. Like, and it was so cool to have somebody else be like, no, these, like, to validate my love for these movies.
Yes,
You know,
I
somebody
agree.
on TV to validate it. And now, like I said, we have this community where no matter what it is you love or you don't love, there is somebody in this community who will hear you and who might even feel the same way.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. Yep. Or at least they respect you and they say, hey, that's cool. You can love that movie. I may not, but that's okay, you know?
Exactly. I know there are people where The Conjuring might be their favorite horror movie. I just think the fact that you love a horror movie that much is amazing. And I have no hate against you. I'm just jealous because I want to love more things. And I don't like not liking a horror movie, especially when there's wonderful people in it and wonderful people behind the camera. I just
agreed.
It sucks. It's like a party I didn't get invited to.
There'll be other parties. There's other parties you'll be being invited to. Nice. All right. So, guys, we're going to get ready to head on out here. For you guys in the chat, please give the video a like. But I also have Gory's channel in the description. Her link to the channel is in the description. So go check her out. Great content. And by the way, I really enjoyed everything that you've talked about with Scream. It's some really good takes on it and stuff. I think I think I left a comment saying, I agree with everything you said, and whatever. But it was a fresh take, So for you guys watching, please, please, please check her out. Check out Horror Addicts. Great folks. And yeah, the Oscars are going to be coming up soon. That'll be some
Yes,
fun
very
stuff.
soon. I'm gonna go check on Danny and see how he's doing with that because he's working on it.
Awesome.
And I'm easy to find everywhere: Twitter, YouTube. Just type in Gory B Movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique
Absolutely.
name.
It is a very unique name.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Monty, please sub to Gory and Night. Thanks, man. You're
Yes,
all right, man.
Ray has done such a great job. You've been such a lovely host. Give him a thumbs up.
Thank you so much. So yeah, so guys, check out Gory B Movie. Leave us some comments also in the comment section. Let us know what you think of some of these hot takes. We actually have gone over a whole bunch of stuff, a lot more than what I thought we'd get to, and also some really cool conversations. So let us know in the comment section what you guys think, some of your takes, because this live chat was pinging. I couldn't keep up with everyone, but I definitely appreciated you guys hanging out and having conversations with us and also with each other. It was great. Miss 80 saying this was such a fun discussion. Thank you so much. It really was. Patrick saying Slasher Movie Club on Mondays. Yes, we love having Slasher Movie Club on Mondays, and we will be back next Monday too. So, anyways, thank you, Gory. We're gonna get ready to get out here. I'll have you hold on for a second when we do the outro, but we will catch you guys later. And as I always say, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out.